without specifying the parody account will be suspended. Nivedna, take us through the details that you're picking up.
Right, Samisha, of course, in the world of social media, we do see a lot of parody accounts. So now the latest, of course, Elon Musk coming out with this new rule. Now, in the past 1 week, like you pointed out, ever since he's taken over, there have been different rules that he's coming up with. The latest one being about parody accounts. In fact, he's gone and clearly stating that, and I quote, going forward, any Twitter handles engaging in impersonation without clearly specifying parody will be permanently suspended. So obviously, the big highlight in this is that if these accounts do not mention that they're parody accounts, then there will be no, further warnings given. The account will stand suspended, because one of the things, of course, of social media is the number of followers that people have. In fact, parody accounts, go on to have a large number of followers. So that, of course, will be a huge setback for those people who will now not clearly state that these are parody accounts. He's also gone on to say that, one of the glaring points over here is that no warning will be given now as widespread verification is being rolled out as well, Samiksha.
Yes. All right, Nivedna, thank you for the moment. So, Nivedna getting us those details in relation to the new warning, the fresh warning issued by Elon Musk, the tweet on your screens as well. In fact, the tweet put out by Elon Musk says that this will be clearly identified as a condition for signing up to Twitter Blue, and any name change at all will cause temporary loss of verified check mark as well. So those are the details coming in at this point. We'll slip into a very short break for now, but on the other side, we'll continue to get you news breaks and more updates. Plane that crashed at Lake Victoria in Bukoba in Tanzania, and the rescue operations are still underway.
The decorated van, it has to be put with a proper security, just because no untoward incident can happen during the last journey of Sudhir Suri.
Family members, they are just paying the last respect to Sudhir Suri with a lot of heavy heart.
Sir, there are certain questions that need to be answered. What is the link of the Khalistan in that entire case? How the ISI is back, sir? Sir, please, kindly one question, sir.
The RSS is holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Leaders put under house arrest following Sudhir Suri's death were later released by the Amritsar police. BJP's national president JP Nadda released a manifesto for the BJP in Himachal Pradesh in his rally.
By-poll elections happening in the state of Maharashtra. In fact, now Rituja Latke has won.
Plane that crashed at Lake Victoria in Bukoba in Tanzania, and the rescue operations are still underway.
The decorated van, it has to be put with a proper security, just because no untoward incident can happen during the last journey of Sudhir Suri.
Family members, they are just paying the last respect to Sudhir Suri with a lot of heavy heart.
Sir, there are certain questions that need to be answered. What is the link of the Khalistan in that entire case? How the ISI is back, sir? Sir, please, kindly one question, sir.
The RSS is holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS.
The headlines at this hour: battle for Himachal Pradesh's elections heats up. BJP releases manifesto. Shah says he is confident of the BJP's victory. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to LG Saxena. Sukesh alleges indirect threats by Jain inside jail. Supreme Court to pronounce verdict on whether petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren in money laundering probe is maintainable or not. Key Delhi government meet on new directions by the centre's air quality panel on revoking curbs imposed under final stage of graded response action plan. DK Shivkumar to skip ED summons in money laundering case. DK Shivkumar says will attend party workers' birthday event. Hello and welcome. You're watching Live and Breaking here on Republic. I'm Rukma and in our top story, breaking news coming in now, Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has written another letter to the Delhi LG. That's Lieutenant Governor VK Saxena. In the third letter, Sukesh has alleged that he has been receiving threats from the jail administration on behalf of Satyendar Jain, who's lodged in the jail as well. It's a third letter by Sukesh Chandrasekhar to the Lieutenant Governor. And Sukesh in his letter alleges that he is being threatened inside the jail by Satyendar Jain. And it's a third such letter. Earlier, he had made allegations that he had contributed a huge amount of money to the party as well. Harsha live on this story. Harsha, it's another letter, the third in number, that Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has written to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Give us all the details. What are the major points that he's highlighted regarding all the allegations that he's been making for some time now against the Aam Aadmi Party and its senior leaders?
Exactly. Now the incarcerated conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar, who is serving his imprisonment in Mandoli jail, has sent a letter through his lawyer to LG VK Saxena, and this is the third letter which we are seeing, and the content of letter clearly states where Sukesh Chandrasekhar is stating that he is receiving death threats from jail superintendent and ex-DG jail, which is Sandeep Goyal, on the instructions of Satyendar Jain, because he has made his points public. Now everyone knows that he has given money to protection money to Satyendar Jain. Not only this, he has also in his second letter stated that rupees 50 crore was asked by Aam Aadmi Party Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal to enhance his party in the south direction, to give Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar Rajya Sabha seat. 50 crore Aam Aadmi Party leader demanded. Not only this, the leaders from Tamil Nadu, Bengaluru in the south side were asked by Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar by Aam Aadmi Party leader. This conman is alleging that Arvind Kejriwal asked him to identify 20 to 30 corporators who can give him cash in bulk of amounting to rupees 500 crore to enhance his party in the south district and south places in the year 2016. And these are the major allegations which have been levelled by Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar against Aam Aadmi Party Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Satyendar Jain. Not only this, Kailash Gehlot name has also been taken in the second jail. After the second jail, we saw how LG VK Saxena ordered inquiry against DG Prisons Jail Sandeep Goyal, and also asked him to shift from Mandoli jail to somewhere else and report in the PHQ. Now Sandeep Goyal, who is the DG Prisons, have been transferred, but also Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar is currently asking LG VK Saxena to shift him from Mandoli jail to some other jail because he is receiving death threats, and he is also saying that he is not intimidated by Aam Aadmi Party. He is writing this letter so that CBI investigation could go in detail in context to the protection money he has given to Satyendar Jain, the kind of thuggy which Aam Aadmi Party leader Arvind Kejriwal has done with him. Not only this, he is also stating that he will give all the facts and evidences to CBI once the inquiry starts. Now we are seeing that a lot of controversy happened when the first letter by Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar came in public after he sent a letter to LG VK Saxena. The first letter was about the protection money of rupees 10 crore and 2 crore every month, which he used to give to Satyendar Jain when he was jail minister. He also stated that Satyendar Jain came to meet him in Tihar jail 2 times. So these are very serious allegations against Aam Aadmi Party leaders. Not only this, Aam Aadmi Party Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in his press conferences stated that this is the political slugfest and BJP is doing all this before of fear in Gujarat poll, because they are fear of losing in MCD and Gujarat election. Therefore, now they have got this.
We'll be coming back to you, but joining us now on the phone line is BJP leader RP Singh. And Mr. Singh, when we look at some of the things that, some of the pointers, some of the highlights of Sukesh Chandrasekhar's third letter, he says that not only did Mr. Jain start visiting me, earlier he had said and asked if Sukesh had disclosed any of what had happened as far as requests made by Arvind Kejriwal and so on were concerned. Well, he said that they are very explosive allegations. Your reaction?
Well, this needs to be investigated into, and why Mr. Kejriwal should get panic. I mean, he should simply ask for investigation and then let investigation happen. Because if Mr. has visited the Tihar jail on particular dates which he is mentioning, then that will be in the logbook. Or if they met in the hotel, there will be video shoots or records of the meeting in the hotel where the party was thrown. Or on the phone call records, there will be of Mr. Gehlot and Satyendar Jain. There will be details of the meeting with the Conman. But fact is, just washing off things will not help. Because if the man is saying with minute details of meetings and dates of the meetings and mentioning the amount, it means there is something which needs to be investigated.
Definitely. Well, many thanks, Mr. RP Singh. And joining us now on the phone line is Mr. Harish Khurana of the Delhi BJP on the phone line. Mr. Khurana, when we talk about what Sukesh, he's written a third letter to the Lieutenant Governor. He's made a number of explosive allegations against the Aam Aadmi Party's top leaders. 3 names, in fact: Satyendar Jain, Aam Aadmi Party convener Arvind Kejriwal, and Mr. Gehlot. At the end of it, he's demanded or requested rather a CBI investigation into the matter. What do you have to say about the allegations that he's made? What is the public supposed to think that a party that at one time had risen to power on a platform of honesty and anti-corruption, it's now being alleged that Aam Aadmi Party convener had asked Sukesh for contributors in exchange of positions and seats. Your reactions?
See, Aam Aadmi Party image of Kattar Imandar has gone for a toss. And this is not for the first time. We have seen a series of events, whether it is Satyendar Jain's case in Hawala racket or ED racket or liquor scam. But the latest controversy of Sukesh Chandrasekhar letter, the recent letter what he has written, and he has given the proof that 7 installments, through 7 installments, 50 crore has been given. He has said the car number DL1CAD 3009, in that car number this money was being delivered. Haldiram in Ball Town, he has said the location where the money has been delivered and to whom it has been delivered. Why can't a CBI inquiry should happen? Point number 1. Point number 2, when a minister, he himself is in a jail and having a serious allegation on him, why not an immediate transfer of his jail from Tihar jail to any other state? BJP is demanding immediate transfer of his jail from Delhi to either UP or Haryana, somewhere else. But as a minister for especially jail, he was a jail minister at that time, he is having all those facilities, he's taking all those facilities which is not eligible to, and doing a lot of things over there, meeting the people, and having a doubt also over there. One of the cases, many cases might be followed, because in Tihar jail, in the high security jail, many people who have these kind of things, allegations are there, We might be taking money from them also. ये तो अभी सामने आया है, बाकी कितना सामने आएगा मालूम नहीं. तो immediately इसका ट्रांसफर होना चाहिए. We demand an immediate removal from his post also.
Right, Mr. Khurana, many thanks for sharing your thoughts and speaking with the Republic. Let's listen in to more reactions on the part of the BJP. Shehzad Poonawala speaking. Let's listen in.
Yet another candid confession of Sukesh has come out in the public domain via the media. And this confession shows that Aam Aadmi Party is a party of ugai, lutai, kamai and bhrashtachar. Whether inside Tihar or outside Tihar. ऐसी कोई जगह नहीं जहां पर आम आदमी पार्टी ने ठगा नहीं. This candid confession, number 3, contains several details of the money exchanged between Aam Aadmi Party leaders and Sukesh, the Conman. This shows that the Aam Aadmi Party is a party of Mahathugs who were also extorting money from a thug like Sukesh. The questions, however, need to be answered specifically by Arvind Kejriwal. Mr. Kejriwal was 10 crores taken as protection money. Is this the reason why Satyendar Jain was retained as a minister and no action has been taken on him even till date, despite 4 months passing and he remaining in jail and court giving him no relief? Was 50 crore rupees also given for a Rajya Sabha seat? Was more money being extracted in order to expand the Aam Aadmi Party? Was there a party that you attended which was thrown by Sukesh? Is it true that the money was exchanged at the farmhouse of Kailash Gehlot, another minister in your government? Today, instead of allowing a free and fair probe and making his minister step down so that a free and fair probe can take place without any fear or favor, Mr. Kejriwal once again plays the victimhood card and tries to skirt the issue. Mr. Kejriwal must tell us that ये कौन से 4 यार थे जो मिल रहे थे तिहार में और कर रहे थे भ्रष्टाचार. These 4 years of corruption, Satyendar Jain, Sukesh, Kailash Gehlot and Kejriwal must answer these questions very, very specifically. And today, instead of running away, Mr. Kejriwal must tell us that why doesn't he allow a free and fair probe by asking these ministers to step down.
So reactions pouring in as far as Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar, who is lodged in Tihar jail in Delhi. His third letter to Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Vinay Saxena, has some explosive allegations that he has made against Aam Aadmi Party top leaders Satyendar Jain, Arvind Kejriwal and Kailash Gehlot in particular. He's also demanded a CBI investigation into the matter. Moving on to other news stories now. After the Enforcement Directorate issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State President D.K. Shivkumar, asking him to appear before it on the 7th of November in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, the latter has said that he is occupied with Party National President's program on that day. A clear indication that the Congress chief of Karnataka will not be attending the ED summons. He will be skipping it instead to attend a party. So joining us now is our correspondent Prajwal, who's there in Karnataka, who's there in Bengaluru. I think it's Prajwal. What are the latest updates you're getting as far as D.K. Shivkumar's attendance responding to the ED summons is concerned? There are clear indications that he will not be appearing because he has said he has a birthday party to attend.
To the latest information today, now we get to understand that D.K. Shivkumar has already left for Belgavi. And today, D.K. Shivkumar's office has sent an official mail to the enforcement directorate stating that he will not be able to attend the summons, which was.
Well, Prajwal, we'll have to reconnect with you because of the audio quality there. So, well, breaking news coming in from Bengaluru, D.K. Shivkumar of the Congress, of the Karnataka Congress to skip the ED summons. He says he has to participate at a celebration, at the birthday celebration. And because on that same day, that's November 7th today, he will be attending the party instead and will not be appearing before the Enforcement Directorate. in this particular summons that has been issued to him by the Enforcement Directorate. Prajwal, our correspondent, just telling us he's already left. And joining us now is Mr. Shiv Kumar himself on the phone line. Mr. Shiv Kumar, we'd like you to tell us your reasons for skipping the ED summons. We are hearing that you have a birthday party to attend instead.
No, I fully respect whatever the ED has summoned me, but I had a preoccupation. You know that I am the president of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee, and the All India Congress Committee president has come to Bangalore and for the first time. So I have been, first I have participated, and the next my brother Mr. D.K. Suresh also has been summoned. So you will be participating on the ED summons, and I have seek some few days time so that I can come and participate in that. So I think I would requested the ED. So you know I am a law-abiding citizen. I know my responsibility. They have asked for some documents. We have provided, and still there are some documents to give. Definitely, in the next opportunity, I'll go and meet them. We have a very big program which has been organized for Mr. Karge and one of my vice president. So I have to participate on that issue. It is a pre-decided program.
Well, Mr. Shiv Kumar.
Though there was a Bharat Jodo, I had participated in the first summons which had been given to me. Tell me, madam.
Right, sir. Well, Mr. Shiv Kumar, when you are such a popular leader, you're followed by so many, a veteran leader in politics, a leader among the people. When you set an example that it's more important to attend a party rather than, than a government authority, summoning you, what is the kind of message that you are sending here?
I respect the ED summons. I know that. But I had a preoccupation about more than 1 lakh of people will be attending this program, and my ACC president is there. It is also have a political obligations. I will not run away from the ED summons. I will answer to them. I know my responsibility. Nothing will be changed. So I request for the time. I don't want to skip this summons, but it is inevitable. Though Bharat Jodo was there, Rahul Gandhi was walking, I was supposed to lead the entire yatra. I just came to Delhi and I visited on 7th. So the year also definitely I will seek for some time for 2 weeks. Whenever they give the next time, I will come and participate for that.
Right, so many thanks for speaking with Republic. So D.K. Shiv Kumar of the Karnataka Congress there, stating his stand on the issue, says he will definitely attend the ED summons. He will not be skipping it. But as of today, he is preoccupied. He has a prior commitment that he has made, and lakhs of people are waiting for him there. As a result, he will have to attend that. And he has already sent the documents that have been sought by the Enforcement Directorate. And he is seeking a 2-week extension. That's the information that Mr. Shiv Kumar has given Republic. And Prajwal joining us now. Prajwal, we were just speaking with Mr. D.K. Shiv Kumar, and he has said that he has no intention of skipping the summons, but has just sought an extension of perhaps maybe 2 weeks' time.
Yes, because
Well, Prajwal, there's still a difficulty as far as connecting you is concerned. The audio is somehow not functioning properly. So Mr. D.K. Shiv Kumar will be skipping the ED summons as far as today is concerned. But speaking with Republic, he has said that lakhs of people are waiting for him at this particular celebration. It's a prior commitment that he cannot get out of, and he has instead sought, he is likely to seek an extension and request another day in which he will be appearing before the ED, definitely. And let's take a look at other top stories from across the country after the Enforcement Directorate issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State President DK Shivkumar, asking him to appear before it on the 7th of November in connection with the ongoing money laundering case. DK Shivkumar said he was occupied with Party National President's program on that day. Delhi woke up to a lingering smog covering its sky, with the overall air quality index under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meeting to discuss the new directions by the centre's air quality panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan. A team of Kamrup District Police, led by officer in charge of Chaigaon Police Station, bust fake Indian currency racket, apprehend 5 people. According to the Kamrup District Police, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items recovered and case registered. And Minister of State in the MEA, Muralidharan, arrives in Sao Paulo in Brazil. He will be addressing the Brazilian Congress at the solemn session on 75 years of India's independence and interact with the Brazilian leadership as well as the Indian community there. DMK MP Kanimori has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit a petition to recall Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimori has said that he had made a disrespecting comment by the governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people. She says this is against the constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce a verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining a mining lease are maintainable or not. The Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari will pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar shoots off another letter to Delhi LG, alleging he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned AAP Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal. In earlier 2 letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal had promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit, is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd Constitutional Amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of the poor among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. And coming up here, all the news on Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writing another letter to LG's Saxena. Sukesh alleges indirect threats by Jain inside the jail. Supreme Court will pronounce verdict on whether petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren in money laundering probe is maintainable or not.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 10 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Leaders put under house arrest following Sudhir Suri's death were later released by the Amritsar police. BJP's National President JP Nadda released a manifesto for the BJP in Himachal Pradesh in his rally.
By-poll elections happening in the state of Maharashtra. In fact, now Rituja Latke has won.
plane that crashed at Lake Victoria in Bukoba in Tanzania, and the rescue operations are still underway.
The decorated van, it has to be put with a proper security, just because no untoward incident can happen during the last journey of Sudhir Suri.
Family members, they are just paying the last respect to Sudhir Suri with lot of heavy heart.
Sir, there are certain questions that need to be answered. What is the link of the Khalistan in that entire case? How the ISI is back, sir? Sir, please, kindly one question, sir.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he's attending that mass marriage.
Leaders
Let's take a look at some other news stories. Thousands of runners took to the streets of China's capital, Beijing, on Sunday for the return of the Beijing Marathon. After a 2-year COVID-19 hiatus, authorities are trying to restore a sense of normalcy while sticking to a zero-COVID strategy. Twitter founder and former CEO Jack Dorsey has finally broken his silence after the microblogging site's new owner, Elon Musk, laid off nearly half of the company's staff. Dorsey issued an apology to those who were working at present and those who had been laid off since Musk's takeover of Twitter. A homemade bomb went off in a bus, killing a passenger and wounding 10 others in a southern Filipino city in an attack authorities suspect may be part of an extortion attempt. Pope Francis appealed for peace in Ethiopia and Ukraine during a meeting with priests and nuns at the Sacred Heart Church in Manama. Pope Francis started his address underlining the multi-ethnic diversity of the country's small Catholic community. And time for a short break, but coming up on the other side, battle for Himachal Pradesh's elections heats up. BJP releases manifesto. Shah says he is confident of the BJP's victory. Also coming up, Supreme Court to pronounce verdict on whether petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren in the money laundering probe is maintainable or not.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 10 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Sir, there are certain questions that need to be answered. What is the link of the Khalistan in that entire case? How the ISI is back, sir? Sir, please, kindly one question, sir.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he's attending that mass marriage.
Leaders put under house arrest following Sudhir Suri's death were later released by the Amritsar police. BJP's National President JP Nadda released a manifesto for the BJP in Himachal Pradesh in his rally.
By-poll elections happening in the state of Maharashtra. In fact, now Rituja Latke has won.
Plane that crashed at Lake Victoria in Bukoba in Tanzania, and the rescue operations are still underway.
The decorated van, it has to be put with a proper security, just because no untoward incident can happen during the last journey of Sudhir Suri.
Family members, they are just paying the last respect to Sudhir Suri with lot of heavy heart.
Sir, there are certain questions that need to be answered. What is the link of the Khalistan in that entire case? How the ISI is back, sir? Sir, please, kindly one question, sir.
The battle for Himachal Pradesh elections heats up. The BJP releases a manifesto. Shah says he's confident of the party's victory. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to the Lieutenant Governor. Chandrasekhar alleges indirect threats by Jain inside jail. The Supreme Court is to pronounce its verdict on whether a petition was filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren in the money laundering probe is maintainable or not. The Delhi government is to meet on new directions by the centre's air quality panel on revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the graded response action plan. DK Shivakumar is likely to skip the ED's summons in the money laundering case. DK Shivakumar says he will attend a party workers' birthday event instead. Good morning and thank you very much for staying with us on Live and Breaking. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. We begin with news that's coming in. The former Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad has said that only the Congress party can challenge the BJP in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh's assembly elections, while the Aam Aadmi Party is merely a party of Delhi. So that is the first time really we've heard anything in support from Ghulam Nabi Azad coming for the Congress party after he left the Congress to form a political outfit of his own. So in those terms, this is the first significant statement that Ghulam Nabi Azad has made in favor of the Congress party, going on to hit out at the Aam Aadmi Party, saying that if there is a political party that can challenge the BJP in Gujarat as well as Himachal Pradesh, it is only the Congress. Let's listen in to what he said.
अब देखूं, अच्छी बात, चाहे मैं कांग्रेस से अलग हो गया हूं, लेकिन मेरी ख्वाहिश है कांग्रेस की कोई मैं एंटी कांग्रेस पॉलिसी के खिलाफ नहीं था। पॉलिसी तो हमारी वही सेकुलरिज्म है, सोशलिज्म है, गरीबों की सेवा करना। मेरे हटने का कुछ पार्टी के जिस तरह से पार्टी चाहते थे मजबूत हो, वो नहीं हो रही थी, हमारी बात सुनी नहीं जा रही। कांग्रेस पार्टी रोज कमजोर होती जा रही थी। हम 20 स्टेटों से 2 स्टेटों तक पहुंच गए थे। तो चलाने का सिस्टम, चलाने की तरीका गलत था। कोई कांग्रेस पार्टी की पॉलिसियां गलत नहीं थी। मैं तो अब भी चाहूँगा कि गुजरात में और हिमाचल में कांग्रेस अच्छा करेगी तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि अपनी पार्टी के बस का नहीं है। अपनी पार्टी एक दिल्ली की महदूद यूटी पार्टी है, वो स्टेट को नहीं चला सकती है। जिस तरह से पंजाब आज अपनी पार्टी से नहीं चलाया जा रहा है, आज लोग पछता रहे हैं। आज अगर पंजाब में इलेक्शन होगा तो अपनी पार्टी को कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। इसलिए आम आदमी पार्टी को, आम आदमी पार्टी को वोट देकर आज पंजाब में पछता रहे हैं। तो आम आदमी पार्टी पंजाब जहाँ वो कामयाब नहीं हुए इतने बहुमत के बाद, वो हिमाचल में कैसे कामयाब हो सकते हैं, वहाँ गुजरात में कैसे कामयाब हो सकता है। वहाँ अगर बीजेपी का मुकाबला कर सकती है तो वो कांग्रेस ही कर सकती है। चाहे मैं कांग्रेस में नहीं हूँ, लेकिन कम से कम पॉलिसी जो है कांग्रेस की वो अच्छी पॉलिसी है, सबको लेके चलने की।
So, Ghulam Nabi Azad, a former congressman over there, hitting out at the Aam Aadmi Party, also attacking the Aam Aadmi Party's rule in Punjab. So, not just saying that only the Congress perhaps can challenge the BJP in the 2 states that are going to polls, but also saying that the Aam Aadmi Party has not been up to the job of ruling Punjab. and Delhi. Do remember that Ghulam Nabi Azad had left the Congress party after having spent decades over there. He's of course found an outfit of his own and is expecting to fight the elections in Jammu and Kashmir whenever that happens. So Ghulam Nabi Azad over there for the first time speaking in favour of the Congress party. Now, as the race for Himachal Pradesh intensifies, the focus is on the BJP's uniform civil code promise. The BJP has made a statement of intent and the opposition is hitting back. Take a look.
With only few days to go for Himachal Pradesh elections and Gujarat elections scheduled next month, from creation of job opportunities to women's rights, all parties are now swinging into action mode. However, Uniform Civil Code has come out as a common issue in both the states. First in Gujarat and then in Himachal Pradesh.
हमने इसको गंभीरता से विचार किया है और हम उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हमने इसका ड्राफ्ट बनाने के लिए भी बोल दिया है और हिमाचल के संदर्भ में क्या-क्या चीजें उसमें की जा सकती है उस दिशा में हम आज नहीं हमने पहले दिन से काफी पहले इस बात को लेकर के हमने जिक्र किया कि हम उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ेंगे।
This statement by Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jain Thakur sparked a fresh row. In fact, it's one of the top 11 commitments the BJP has made in this elections in Himachal in their manifesto. With UCC implementation and Waqf property scrutiny topping the list, the manifesto has now whipped up a massive political storm.
Just before the election, a few days before the election, they are announcing it to implement this UCC. What is UCC? Whether UCC can set right the arthik sthiti of the country, whether it is a jadoo ka danda, what is this? What benefit people will get out of it? It is nothing, it is just politics, and they think that they can get power again through UCC.
अब जागते हैं चुनाव के वक्त में, बोलते हैं राज नहीं रिवाज बदलेंगे। साहब राज भी बदलेगा और रिवाज भी बदलेगा। ये जो 5वें वर्ष में आकर के आप जागते हैं ना, चाहे गुजरात हो चाहे हिमाचल हो, जनता आपके मनसा वाचा कर्मणा से वाकिफ है।
Even as politics continue, Home Minister Amit Shah set the record straight on UCC.
70 साल से देश की जनता, हमारे देश की मुस्लिम बेटियां, माताएं मांग करती थी कि ट्रिपल तलाक को हटा दिया जाए। मुझे बताओ हटाना चाहिए या नहीं हटाना चाहिए? मगर कांग्रेस पार्टी वोट बैंक की लालच में नहीं हटाती थी। मैं आपको कहकर जाता हूं, हिमाचल में जयराम ठाकुर की सरकार ला दो, हिमाचल में कॉमन सिविल कोड लागू हो जाएगा, यहां कोई नहीं रोक सकता।
यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लाने का कोई और मकसद नहीं है। अब चुनाव आ गया तो मोदी जी और उनकी सरकार ने ऐलान किया कि गुजरात में भी एक कमेटी बनाई जाएगी। मेरे अजीज दोस्तों और बुजुर्गों, मोदी जी ने कह दिया यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, तो दिल्ली का केजरीवाल भी बोल रहा कि हाँ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड। इन दोनों का यूनिफॉर्म एक ही है। तुम लोकसभा जीतो, मैं असेंबली जीतता हूं।
But some are still trying to give the UCC a communal angle. With Uttarakhand being first, then Gujarat and now Himachal Pradesh, the question remains, will UCC in India be a reality or remain a mere poor promise?
Well, we're cutting across the pictures that we are now getting of what appears to be a problem with crowd control in Mathura. Now, this video that has emerged seems to have come from Mathura in Uttar Pradesh, from the Banke Bihari temple. We are told that there was a problem in terms of controlling the crowd and 11 pilgrims were trapped in there. We're going to try and play out those visuals for you very shortly. But this video has just emerged. It does appear to be from Sunday. Let's So those are the pictures that we are getting for you from Mathura. It does appear to be that there were large crowds at the Banke Bihari temple, and the situation did appear to have gone out of hand slightly with the crowd management not being done properly. Pictures on your screen are coming to you from the Banke Bihari temple in Mathura. So large crowds over there, and what we are given to understand is that this is a constant problem in terms of crowd management that is often reported from the Banke Bihari temple in Mathura, despite the administration over there putting in place several measures. Anuj is on the phone line. He now joins us. Anuj, give us more details of this particular incident.
Well, this has been reported from the Banke Bihari temple of Mathura, and as we can understand it by going through the visuals, and this could be clearly seen the situation what it would have been. This was a stampede-like situation, and let me tell you that this is said to be the lapses of the system and lapses of the security. There, if we talk about the management, if we talk about the system, the security arrangement which has to be done there to control the crowd. As we can see, this was the highly crowded day when we are talking about Banke Bihari Lal temple in Mathura. And let me also tell you that this has been told that this was around 4 people whose condition were not good. They were the team of doctors who were taking care of the things. They have given the treatment therein. These were around 11 people who were trapped there, and this was the stampede-like situation. But this is, let me remind you that when we talk about Banke Bihari temple or places like this is always known that this is going to be very, very crowded, and specifically on the weekends, whether
the topic
Saturday.
Now, Anuj, that you broached this topic, I wanted to ask you that. Now, this is something that we often see in, pilgrimage sites and temples and, other pilgrimages sites where there is an issue with crowd control. Now, this also does appear to be one of those situations which could easily have spiraled out of control.
Well, that is something what we are mentioning at this point in time, because this is never new. When we are talking about this kind of gathering, when we are talking about these pilgrim sites, when we are talking about these devotees, this could be clearly seen when specifically these are places like Banke Bihari temple in Mathura. Then this would have been managed by the administration, by the people who are taking care of that particular unit or the places. But this was clear a lapse. This was clearly the lapses which could be seen on the ground, and because of which we have seen this stampede-like situation. Because this could be clearly seen in the video that what would have been the situation, but this is the clear lapses of the administration there. The crowd would have been managed, would have been controlled, but there were some lapses. That's something what we have been told.
All right, Anuj, bringing us those details. Thank you very much for joining us. So as Anuj is pointing out, obviously, crowd control is a major issue in temples like this one. Now, Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict today on the validity of the central law for 10% of reservation benefits to economically weaker sections of society. Here's what to expect.
A Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict today on the validity of the central law for 10% reservation benefits to economically weaker sections.
मैं तो यहाँ देख रहा हूँ कि अधिकतर राजनीतिक दल चाहे इस तरफ हो या उधर हो, जब उन्होंने अपने चुनावी घोषणा पत्र जारी किए थे तो अनरिजर्व्ड कैटेगरीज के जो गरीब हैं उन्हें आरक्षण मिले, ये जुमला तो उसमें डाला था। और इसलिए आज तक कई सरकारें आई, केंद्र में भी राज्यों में भी, कई बार प्रयास भी हुआ, लेकिन सही रास्ते से प्रयास नहीं हुआ।
The 5-judge bench will be headed by CGI UU Lalit. The verdict will come one day before the retirement of CGI Lalit on 8th of November. The Constitution Bench will consider a host of legal issues while contemplating the EWS category reservation case. The Centre, through the 103rd Constitutional Amendment in 2019, had introduced the provision for EWS in reservations. Today's verdict will come after Supreme Court is said to have heard about 40 petitions against the amendment.
You are watching Republic TV, and up next, the battle for the Himachal Pradesh elections heats up. The BJP releases its manifesto. Shah says he's confident of victory. And Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to the LG, alleges indirect threats inside jail.
Plane that crashed at Lake Victoria in Bukoba in Tanzania, and the rescue operations are still underway.
The decorated van, it has to be put with a proper security, just because no untoward incident can happen during the last journey of Sudhir Suri.
Family members, they are just paying the last respect to Sudhir Suri with lot of heavy heart.
After the ED issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case. The Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky, with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon Police Station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered.
Welcome back. You are watching Republic TV. Now, the CBI has filed a petition in the Delhi court to make one of the accused in the liquor scam a government witness in the case. Now, that would be a prosecution witness in this particular case. A few days ago, the trial court had granted anticipatory bail to Dinesh Arora, an accused, as the CBI had not opposed the bail plea in the case. Now, we are given to understand that there appears to be a petition that has been filed by the CBI to make the accused and the businessman Dinesh Arora a witness in the case. This is a plea that has been filed by the CBI in the court. Do remember that he was granted bail after the CBI did not oppose his bail plea. We're going to go across to our correspondent Anuj, who has more details on this. Anuj, tell us more about what you are hearing. Now, this is, of course, a significant development in the liquor scam.
Well, if we talk about the liquor scam, then this is the latest update. What we have been told, that this is CBI who has filed a petition in the Delhi court where they are seeking Dinesh Arora, who was earlier arrested in the same scam by the CBI, who has now been granted the bail, to be the government witness, be the witness from the CBI side. So that is something what has been stated by the CBI, that he has cooperated in the investigation. He has been telling all the questions, giving answers to all the questions, and helping CBI to investigate further if we talk about the liquor scam. So that's something what has been stated by the CBI in this very petition, that they want the approval of the court. They want it to be approved by the court, that Dinesh Arora would be and now going to be the witness from the CBI side, from the government side. That's something what has been stated in that very petition. Let me remind you, when we talk about the bail petition, bail application which was moved in by Dinesh Arora, there also CBI has supported the same. CBI has not objected the same, because this has been stated clearly by CBI that this is Dinesh Arora who's cooperating in the investigation, and that is how now the things have been taken ahead if we talk about the liquor scam. Yes.
Now, Anuj, give us more details in terms of what the accusations against Dinesh Arora have been. Obviously, that the CBI feels now that he's cooperating, but what were the accusations against him in the charge sheet that was filed?
Well, if we talk about the charges, then this has been alleged that Dinesh Arora was also in touch with some of the officials of the excise policy, and there was some money exchange which was done, which was in his knowledge, because this is several allegations which has been made in by the CBI. If we talk about the FIR which has been filed by the CBI, in which the main accused is Manish Sisodia, the Deputy Chief Minister himself. So we have seen the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate going ahead with the investigation and connecting the dots. But when they were connecting the dots, they have gone through different kind of investigation angle, where they have investigated the people like Dinesh Arora, who was arrested. There the cooperation was seen by Dinesh Arora. That's something which has been stated. Dinesh Arora there now helping CBI to understand and to make it more clear that what would have been done when we are talking about this particular scam, when the CBI is investigating this scam. There Dinesh Arora has been cooperating with the CBI investigation, and that's why this has led to this particular action of CBI, where they are looking for the approval of the court now to make Dinesh Arora and witness from the CBI side. That's something what we have been told. This is to wait and watch what exactly is going to be happening in the court now. Now the CBI has moved in ahead, and this is further another step in the investigation if we talk about this liquor scam. Let me remind you that...
Right.
साथी हरिहर रघुवंशी जी हैं, मैं माननीय अध्यक्ष जी से आग्रह करूंगा कि वो प्रेस वार्ता को संबोधित करें।
धन्यवाद अजय जी और रघुवंशी जी और सभी मेरे मीडिया के मित्रों। दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री वो दिल्ली सरकार को तो चलाते ही हैं, वो एक ऐसी कंपनी के भी अब मालिक बन गए हैं जिसका नाम AKVC है, अरविंद केजरीवाल वसूली कंपनी, जिसके CEO दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री हैं, और लोग या नेता पिए तो रखते हैं, लेकिन अरविंद केजरीवाल जी VA रख रहे हैं, VA वसूली एजेंट, और उनके वसूली एजेंट कहां हैं ये अभी आपने देखा है कि जेल में भी उनके वसूली एजेंट हैं। और यही कारण है कि दिल्ली सरकार या दिल्ली की आम आदमी पार्टी अपने वसूली एजेंट को जेल से नहीं निकाल रहे हैं, क्योंकि जेल में वसूली का एक बड़ा अड्डा मिला है उन्हें। मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, 5 नवंबर यानी कल परसों दिल्ली की जेल में बंद एक कैदी और सत्येंद्र जैन दोनों ने मिलकर जिस तरह से वसूली के सारे रिकॉर्ड तोड़े हैं, सत्येंद्र जैन ने वसूली की है और सुकेश ने वो पैसे दिए हैं। ये कोई तीसरा व्यक्ति नहीं बता रहा है, खुद सुकेश ने 5 नवंबर 2022 को ये पत्र लिखकर, ये तीसरा पत्र पब्लिक डोमेन में आया है, और इस पत्र के अंदर साफ ये लिखा है कि किस तरह से AKVC अरविंद केजरीवाल वसूली कंपनी के VA वसूली एजेंट जो जेल में बंद है, दिल्ली सरकार के मंत्री और मुख्यमंत्री जी के खासम खास, उनको 2016 में किस्तों के अंदर 50 करोड़ रुपया उनको दी है, जो कि दिल्ली सरकार के ही मंत्री कैलाश गहलोत के फार्म हाउस पर डिलीवर किए हैं। सुकेश ने साफ बताया कि हर डिलीवरी के बाद एकेवीसी के सीईओ, जो अरविंद केजरीवाल की वसूली कंपनी है, उसके सीईओ अरविंद केजरीवाल के निर्देश पर उनके वीए वसूली एजेंट दिल्ली सरकार के मंत्री उनको जानकारी देकर ये बताया कि आपको 50 करोड़ की एक किस्त आपको पहुंचा दी गई है। और यही नहीं, 2019 में कोलकाता के अंदर एड्रेस भी बाकायदा दिया है, जेल प्रोटेक्शन मनी, जो ये एकेवीसी कंपनी है, इसकी कई ब्रांचेस है। ये शराब घोटाला वालों, जो शराब माफिया, उनसे भी वसूली करते हैं, ये बिजली कंपनियों से भी वसूली करते हैं। कई ब्रांचेस हैं, उनमें से एक ब्रांच है जो जेल की ब्रांच है, जिसका जिम्मा आजकल दिल्ली के मंत्री सरकार के सत्येंद्र जैन ने उठा रखा है। और ऐसे वसूली एजेंट सत्येंद्र जैन के निर्देश पर कोलकाता के अंदर, कोलकाता के साल्ट लेक में उनको सारा पैसा मुहैया कराएगा। आपको शायद जानकारी होगी कि जिस समय सत्येंद्र जैन के मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग केस जब आया सामने, तो उसमें कोलकाता का बहुत जिक्र था। वो सारी हवाला कंपनियां और इनकी शेल कंपनियों का, यानी सत्येंद्र जैन जो वसूली एजेंट हैं, उनका जो कनेक्शन है वो कोलकाता से ही शुरू होता है। और उसमें जो इनके सहयोगी हैं जेल प्रोटेक्शन मनी, उनके सहयोगी चतुर्वेदी को कोलकाता के साल्ट लेक में दिया गया। ये दावा खुद सुकेश ने किया है, जिन्होंने पैसे दिए हैं। मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, 12.5 करोड़ रुपए सत्येंद्र जैन के निर्देश पर जो एकेवीसी कंपनी है, उसके सीईओ और उनके वसूली एजेंट सत्येंद्र जैन के निर्देश पर तिहाड़ जेल के डीजी संदीप गोयल को भी मॉडल टाउन के हल्दीराम और सिविल लाइंस के भारत पेट्रोल पंप के पास ये रकम को दिया गया है। पूरा दावा किया गया सबूतों के साथ। और सुकेश ने खुद कहा, ये रकम जिस कार के अंदर दी गई है उसका नंबर है DL1 CAD 3009 और ये रकम 2019 से 2021 के बीच दी गई। और हर बार रकम को सौंपने के बाद एकेवीसी जो कंपनी है, उसके वीए वसूली एजेंट सत्येंद्र जैन को रकम मिलने की सूचना भी खुद सुकेश ने दी है। सबूतों के साथ ये जानकारी वो किसी भी जांच एजेंसी को सौंपने के लिए तैयार है। जो डीजी संदीप गोयल, जिनको अभी बर्खास्त किया गया है, वो हमेशा सत्येंद्र जैन से खुद भी मिलते थे। सुकेश
The RSS is holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon police station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered. A case has also been registered. MOSMA V. Muralidharan arrived in Brazil. Muralidharan is set to address Brazilian Congress at a session on 75 years of India's independence and also interact with Brazilian leadership and Indian community. DMK MP Kanimozhi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimozhi has said to make a disrespecting comment by the Governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people is against constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier two letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A five-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of poor among scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. After the ED issued a fresh summons to
बहुत गंभीर मामला है। जिस तरह वसूली कंपनी जेल में चल रही थी और उसके माध्यम से उनके पास पैसे पहुंच रहे थे, तो अब पैसे पहुंचना बंद हो गए हैं। दूसरा, उनकी सारी घोटाले उजागर हो गए, वसूली उजागर हो गई है, तो ऐसे में ज़रूर उनको जान का खतरा हो सकता है। और ये जो वसूली कंपनी है, इसका नेक्सस लोगों के सामने आना चाहिए, इसलिए सीबीआई जांच होनी चाहिए।
लाइट्स के लिए ठीक है ना? हाँ, बढ़िया।
All right, so that was, of course, the BJP over there talking about the third letter that has been written by Sukesh Chandrasekhar to the LG. Do remember that the third letter extensively talks about the fact that he fears for his life and that he believes that people linked with Satyendar Jain, whom he's accused in the past also of extorting money from him, are trying to threaten his life. So the BJP over there saying that the Aam Aadmi Party is actually operating an extortion business, talking of the three letters that have been written by Sukesh Chandrasekhar to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, V.K. Saxena. Now, just to bring our viewers, right, let's just to bring our viewers up to speed on this third letter that has been written by the Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar. In that particular letter, he essentially alleges that he believes that he's receiving threats from jail administration on the behest of Satyendar Jain. Do remember that this is not the first time he's accused Satyendar Jain. He has been accusing Satyendar Jain of extorting money from him as well. I think we've got Harsha live on this one. All right, we'll try and get him back in just a bit. But as I was pointing out, this is not the first time that he's accused Satyendar Jain. Now, in the previous letter, I do remember that Sukesh Chandrasekhar had said that he had paid a sum of 10 crore rupees over various installments to Satyendar Jain in return for favors in the Tihar jail. Now, he'd also mentioned the DG Prison's name in that particular letter. Of course, after that, we did see swift action coming in with the DG Prisons being transferred out. Madhurima is reporting on this. She joins us live right now. Madhurima, good morning. Madhurima, this third letter that has been written by Sukesh Chandrasekhar essentially outlines what he says is the role of Satyendar Jain. He says that he has been threatening me through other people and that he's been extorting money. So the BJP, of course, over there in that press conference saying that the Aam Aadmi Party is extorting money and large sums of it. Tell us more.
Well, good morning to you too, Nupur. And the BJP has fired a fresh salvo today early in the morning, just before the MCD elections campaign to begin here in the national capital, where they're taking on the Aam Aadmi Party, asserting that Arvind Kejriwal Vasuli Company, AKVC, is the new term, new abbreviation that they have coined in for the Aam Aadmi Party today. And they have alleged that the people, the inmates inside the jail are not secure because of the Arvind Kejriwal Vasuli Company, and that not only Sukesh but also many other are being harassed by this AKVC, which is the Arvind Kejriwal Vasuli Company. What important do we take from this particular press conference is that a Delhi BJP delegation will today be meeting the Lieutenant Governor, and they will be requesting that Satyendar Jain be shifted into a jail either in Haryana or in the state of Uttar Pradesh, because here in the national capital he has turned the jail into nothing but a farmhouse, where the BJP alleges that he's been getting free massages, he's been getting home cooked food, and whatever he wishes to do, he is having a gala time inside the prison, which is why today they will be requesting the Lieutenant Governor that that Mr. Satyendar Jain be shifted into a jail in Haryana or in Uttar Pradesh. Also, they'll be requesting that a CBI-led investigation into the entire matter be initiated by the LG. And this is their demand, that two demands that they're going to put forward in front of the Lieutenant Governor. We'll have to wait and watch how the LG reacts to these demands. Back to you.
Absolutely. So as you're pointing out, we are seeing a political battle on our hands as far as this is concerned. Thank you very much for joining us, Madhurima. Now moving on, a constitution bench of the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict today on the validity of the central law for 10% of reservation benefits to economically weaker sections. Now, this, of course, is an extremely important law that has reached the Supreme Court. Now, we're expecting the court to pronounce its verdict on the 10% reservation in all colleges and government jobs as well for poor sections of society, that is the so-called upper classes, which are economically weaker. I think we've got Harsha joining us live on this. Harsha, take us through what we're expecting today. Of course, this is going to be a very keenly watched Supreme Court judgment.
Exactly. This is a very important day as the verdict on the validity of the 103rd Constitution Amendment for the reservation, 10% reservation for the economically weaker section is going to come. Right now we are reporting from Supreme Court lawns. We'll try to show you the Supreme Court lawns as we're expecting the bench to assemble at around 10:30 to 11 a.m. and the verdict will soon come. Initially, this entire discussion was heard in the Supreme Court in the 3-bench panel of judges, but later it got shifted to the bench of 5 judges. And today the verdict will come, in which we are getting to know that the verdict was already reserved on September 27th. After the thorough discussion, the line of discussion which happened till 7th day, and today the verdict will come, and we are getting to know that Justice UU Lalit and Justice Dinesh will the order of both the judges will be comprising together, and there will be 3 different judges. So we are expecting that there will be 4 orders which will be coming today in every eyes on this reservation to economically weaker section. Though we all know that the 103rd Amendment was cleared in January 2019, but it was instantly challenged after the Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan election in Supreme Court. Now the basic structure of the constitution is being questioned in this entire. All the judges have framed 3 fundamental questions, and on the basis of those 3 fundamental questions, the entire verdict will depend, because the first of the question is whether the amendment of the constitution will violate the already existing basic structure of the rule of the law of the reservation, and the second, can the private colleges be forced to follow this 10% reservation category, which depends on the economic factor, and the third one is whether the amendment can be done depending on the economic discussing the economic factor as a part of the reservation, because till now the socially and educationally backward are seen as the point for reservation. reservation. So economic can be a factor, the income can be a factor for reservation. So there will be three questions, fundamental questions on which today's decision will depend on a very important discussion, because there were 30 petitions which were filed in Supreme Court against this entire amendment. Though Congress and a very opposition parties themselves said that they will follow rule of law, and also they also stated that the reservation cap which was implemented nationally by Supreme Court in 1992, it violates, this amendment violates that national cap of reservation. It also violates the Indra Swani judgment which came on the reservation, that income cannot be a part for the factor for the reservation, and it will also violate the quota, the factors, the reservation, the rights of SC, BCs, that means socially economically backward section, OBCs, SC and ST. And if we talk about the center already stated that they have approved the creation of 2.1 lakh seats in educational institution and the government jobs, the center affiliated education institution for the economically weaker section, and this will help them lift the poverty of the poor section, and it will also strengthen the other section of the society. So this is very important. And as Supreme Court judges also stated that why income section, why not the scholarship should be given on the other ways, the poorly people should be lifted, why only the reservation category. Then center also discussed it and stated their statement stating that they are already giving the scholarship, already other modes are being applied. 25% admission in central affiliated educational institution are through scholarships only, but that is not sufficient. If the 10% reservation, amongst that 50% will be given, then the poor, the poverty of the poor will be lifted. So this is the entire discussion which happened in September continuously for 7 days. Now we are waiting for all the judges to assemble at around 10:30 in the court.
Okay.
And shortly, the very important decision on EWS category will come. So very important for the people who are economically very weak in the society, they are the poor section of the society. Because in the general category also there are many who are economically very poor. So this decision will directly impact the people, the general class who are poorly in terms of income, and whether income can be a factor to give the reservation, 10% reservation, violating the existing basic structure. So this will be the discussion which will be done, and the verdict will revolve around that only. Nupur, back to you.
Absolutely. As you're pointing out, of course, there are going to be three central questions that the Supreme Court will be hoping to answer today. One of them, of course, is going to be whether the basic structure of the Constitution is going to be altered by allowing for economic status as a factor for reservation. The other part of it, of course, is whether private institutions could be forced to follow it, and could the quota exclude communities historically sidelined based on caste and religion. So those are the three questions that the Supreme Court will be looking to answer today. But even as we await this judgment, do remember that this is a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court that will be essentially coming out with the verdict. It had heard the case for 7 straight days, and thereafter it had reserved the verdict, and today, of course, we are expecting the verdict to come out. So everybody's eyes on the Supreme Court. It will also answer the basic question whether 50% reservation, whether that quota can be extended by this or not. Now, the states, of course, have been very divided on this, depending on who's in power in which particular state. Joining me right now on the phone line is Mr. Sankla. He's an advocate in the Supreme Court. Mr. Sankla, good morning. Thank you very much for speaking to us on Republic TV. To begin with, Mr. Sankla, what are your expectations from today's verdict? Of course, the verdict will essentially answer the 3 basic questions as we've been talking about. But give us a sense of what we should be expecting today.
Well, the decision today, should the decision come on the 3 material points that you've raised, is very important, and it's going to actually change how the executive, the legislation, and the judiciary function. We all know that in the Sony judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, the 50% ceiling had been created to say that you cannot go beyond that 50% ceiling. In most of the states, that ceiling has already been exhausted. There were certain challenges to it in the Honorable Supreme Court which failed. One was in Karnataka, the other was in Mumbai. Now, the other aspect to that is that if you actually disconnect that, then the amendment, so to say, would that change the basic structure of the Constitution? This was laid down in Keshwan and Bharti and gave a landmark judgment. And in Keshwan and Bharti, what was said was that the Constitution itself has two parts. One is the basic nature or the fundamental nature of the Constitution that cannot be changed, altered, modified, amended by any means whatsoever. And the other, of course, was that it is changed with changing times, etc. So, since the 103rd Amendment, which we are talking about right now, seeks to change the fundamental part of the Constitution. Because the fundamental part of the Constitution, the basic nature of the Constitution was protection of the minority, of the backward classes, and people who had been segregated and alienated because of their caste. So we're going to see a huge shift in that should this actually go through. It's a very exciting time that we are in because it's very important to know what the Honorable Supreme Court is going to come, because it's actually going to have consequences on how we interpret Keshwan and Bharti and the Ambika Soni judgment.
Absolutely, Mr. Sankla, appreciate your speaking to us, and thank you very much for actually breaking down what we are expecting today. As Mr. Sankla, of course, said, it's going to be extremely important to watch out for this judgment when it does come out. 10:30 is the time when we are being told that the 5 judges bench is going to assemble. That's about 15 minutes from now. And as I was earlier saying, of course, the judges did hear this case for about 7 days in a row and then reserved their judgment. So we should be expecting this judgment out shortly. Do remember that this is going to be the last big judgment of the current Chief Justice, Justice UU Lalit, before he retires tomorrow. So in that sense, also extremely important. Swapnil Kothari also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Kothari, good morning. Mr. Kothari, the one big question that this judgment is likely to answer is the fact, does the 103rd Amendment essentially alter the country's constitution? That's going to be extremely important. But what are your thoughts as we go into this big judgment today?
Good morning, Nupur. The 103rd Amendment is constitutionally valid. I think that is what is most likely to be the judgment by the Supreme Court, simply because it does not violate the Mandal Commission, which talked about the 50% reservation, and that spoke about certain backward classes where any reservations needed to be there. This essentially talks about economically weaker sections. Now, economically weaker sections could be people from the backwards classes also, and they could be from the forward classes also. An argument could be made against the 103rd Amendment that basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to push forward the poorer forward sections of the society. In the sense, people who are not Dalits or Adivasis, but they are very poor people, but they need that 10% reservation. So that is an argument that could be made, and that violates the equality clause of the Constitution. Now, the courts are more likely to look at it in the way that, no, it is just the economically weaker sections, and for that purpose, you need to add the Article 15.5 and Article 15.6 and then Article 16.6 also, whereby the 10% reservation is to be made. So that is going to be a litmus test, basically, for the court to decide. And basically, when you decide that a constitutional amendment has to be validated, you decide whether or not the basic structure of the Constitution is being violated. The basic structure means your fundamental rights, the parliamentary form of government, the bicameral legislature, the directive principles of state policy. All of those things need to be there in place, and they do not need to go for a toss, to put it in simple terms. Those are 4 or 5 things, is essentially the judicial review, that is the power of judicial review. These 5-6 things form essentially the crux of the constitutional scheme. And this, in a sense, is not going to be violated by the 103rd Amendment, because the 103rd Amendment merely envisages to promote the weaker sections, that is the really poor people who cannot afford the same dawn that you and I can afford when we get up in the morning.
Right.
So that is a provision of an opportunity to these people. That is what the court is going to look at. And that is the reason why most likely, as I said, the 103rd Amendment has a noble objective, and is most likely going to be upheld as constitutionally valid. So in no way that the Indira Saune judgment, which is the Mandal Commission judgment, is being infracted or is being there was a 9-judge bench. So the court is going to say that we have 5 judges. We do not see that there is in any way an overlap between these two, because otherwise an 11-judge bench would have to sit.
Absolutely.
If it were to overrule the Mandal Commission judgment. But here there is no question of overruling because there is no similarity of issues. Here it is in fact an extension of affirmative action, if I may use that word, which we use in the American Constitution. So that is the reason why this is going to be at least running into 400 to 500 pages, and it is going to be a great read for all the people who love the Constitution of India and who really, really want to see India progressing. And I hope that the courts do not hold this as unconstitutional, and if they do, then it will be a lesson for me as well after 28 years of practice, that where is it that possibly I have missed, and I may even disagree with the judgment.
All right. All right, Mr. Kothari, of course, we will be talking once again after that judgment does come out. Thank you for the moment, Mr. Kothari, for joining us and explaining to us how you see this going forward. But as Mr. Kothari was saying, of course, there are going to be basically 3 questions that are answered by the court today. One is whether reservations can be solely granted on the basis of economic criteria. The other is whether EWS reservation is valid, even though it excludes the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, and essentially something that is guaranteed in the Constitution. And the third is whether states can, of course, provide reservation in private educational institutions which do not receive government aid. So all those 3 questions likely to be answered today. As I was earlier pointing out, do remember that this is going to be the last judgment of the Chief Justice of India, UU Lalit, who retires tomorrow. It is a 5-judge Constitution bench that is hearing the matter today. They have been here in the last hearing that sat for 7 straight days when they were hearing this case and had reserved their judgment. So about 10:30 or so is when we are expecting the 3-judge bench to assemble and give out, the 5-judge bench, I beg your pardon, to assemble and give out the verdict. Now, Harsha, I think you're reporting from outside the Supreme Court, so give us a sense of what's happening around you. This is obviously something that's going to be keenly watched by not just the media, but also lawyers and generally everybody.
Exactly, Nupur rightly said. This discussion is going to be seen, the verdict and the decision will be seen by everyone around, because not only lawyers, but the people from every section of the society, they are looking into this EWS reservation 10%. Because if we talk about the basic structure, the many petitions have also argued that this entire amendment, 103rd Constitution Amendment, will trample the basic structure, excluding the socially economic backward community, OBC and SC/ST, because obviously this will not include in the EWS quota. So this economic section should not be valid, and this is violating already the existing judgment. And they also said, what is basic structure? The petitioners who argued, they stated that what is basic structure? According to basic structure, it is the rule of law, it is the special powers of separation, and the parliament has to be offside of it, which was decided by Supreme Court in 1973. That clearly is violating, the amendment is clearly violating the basic structure. Not only this, all eyes on an economic weaker section, because now the lawyers, the bench will assemble at around 10 o'clock and 10:30. The decisions will be different, the verdict will be different, and the majority will decide. We have to see, because it is a 5-bench panel of judges, so the majority.
Absolutely, Harsha, as you're pointing out, it's going to be a keenly awaited judgment. We'll come back to you for more in just a bit. We are, of course, keenly watching out for that story, but here's a quick look at what else is making news this morning. Now, after the ED issued fresh summons to the Karnataka Congress State President DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on the 7th of November in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, DK Shivakumar has said that he was occupied with the party's national president's program on that day. Well, Delhi woke up to lingering smog covering its skies, with the overall air quality index under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meeting to discuss the new directions by the centre's air quality panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan. A team of the Kamrup District Police, led by the officer in charge of Chegao Police Station, busted a fake currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the Kamrup District Police, fake currency notes, a printing machine, 8 phones and other items were recovered. A case has been registered. The Minister of State for the External Affairs Ministry, B. Muralidharan, arrived in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Muralidharan will address the Brazilian Congress at the solemn session of 75 years of India's independence and interact with Brazilian leadership and the Indian community there. DMK MP Kannimoi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit the DMK's petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kannimoi has said that he has made disrespecting comments against representatives who have been elected by the people. The Supreme Court will be pronouncing its verdict today on whether the petition filed against the Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining a mining lease are maintainable or not. The Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari will pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to the Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of the now imprisoned Aam Aadmi Party Minister Satyendar Jain and the DG Prison Sandeep Goyal. In the earlier two letters, Sukesh Chandrasekhar had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal had promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A five-judge bench of the Supreme Court, led by the Chief Justice of India, U.U. Lalit, is scheduled to pronounce its judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd Constitutional Amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of the poor among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. Well, we're cutting across to news that we are just getting from Noida in Uttar Pradesh, where a massive fire has broken out at a private company in phase 2 of Noida. 7 fire tenders are on the spot to douse the flames. So pictures on your screen show you the extent of this fire. We're given to understand that this is quite a big blaze that has taken place in Sector 2/3 of Noida. 7 fire tenders is what we are hearing are trying to douse this blaze over there. We are still trying to ascertain whether there were any people who were struck inside the blaze. We're going to try and speak to our correspondents on that one. But pictures on your screen are of firefighting that's taking place in Sector 2/3, I beg your pardon, of Noida. You are watching Republic TV, and still to come, the Delhi government will be meeting on new directions by the centre's air quality panel on revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan. And DK Shivakumar is likely to skip summons from the ED in the money laundering case.
After the ED issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, the Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky, with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon Police Station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered. A case has also been registered. MOSMA V. Muralidharan arrived in Brazil. Muralidharan is set to address Brazilian Congress at a session on 75 years of India's independence and also interact with Brazilian leadership and Indian community. DMK MP Kanimozhi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimozhi has said to make a disrespecting comment by the Governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people is against constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme
All right, news just coming in. We are now learning that, of course, a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court verdict we are expecting on the constitutional validity of the 10% reservation benefits for the economically weaker sections. Now, the 5-judge bench will be pronouncing its verdict very shortly. Now, this is, of course, that something that is being very, very keenly watched. The 5-judge bench, of course, has been hearing this petitions that have been challenging the 103rd Amendment of the Constitution, and in its last hearing that had gone on for about 7 days, judgment had been reserved, I beg your pardon, so we're expecting the judgment to be out any time now. This judgment had been reserved on the 27th of September. Do remember, it's also important in terms of the fact that this is going to perhaps be the last big judgment of Chief Justice of India, UU Lalit, who retires tomorrow. So there are 3 basic questions that the 5-judge bench that is expected to come out with its verdict very shortly will answer. One is whether reservations can be granted solely on the basis of economic criteria. Now, it's been argued in the court that it essentially is violative of the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. The second part that this judgment will answer is whether the EWS reservation is valid, even though it excludes scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward classes and socially and economically backward classes from its scope. And also something that will be watched out for is whether states can provide reservations to people in private educational institutions which does not receive government aid. Mr. Kothari back with us on the phone line. Mr. Kothari, let's go through what we are expecting from the lens of the 3 big questions that the Supreme Court will be answering. Beginning, of course, with the fact as to whether reservations can be granted solely on the basis of economic criteria, whether the 103rd Amendment is actually violative of the basic principles of the Constitution. What are your thoughts on that? Mr. Kothari, are you there with us?
I'm there. You can patch me online.
All right. Mr. Kothari, we're going to come across to you on Zoom very shortly. But as I was saying...
No, I'm there. I can see you.
All right. Thank you. I was asking you, let's go through this point by point. The big questions that are going to be answered are 3 in number. Going with the first one, is it violative of the basic principles that are enshrined in the Constitution? What are your thoughts on that?
The short answer to that is no, it is not violative of the basic structure of the Constitution, because that was one of the biggest challenges, and that is, for the benefit of the viewers, I'll try to simplify this as much as possible. The basic structure of the Constitution is judicial review, bicameral legislature, parliamentary form of government, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy. So whenever an amendment is passed by both the houses of the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, or if there is a presidential ordinance, the first thing that the courts look at is that whether it violates the basic structure of the Constitution. That is the first thing that it comes into the mind of the court, and unless it's a very simple amendment and where there is no question of any basic structure or anything of that sort. So that is the first aspect. Now, that is in fact, which is your very first question, that does it violate? Because does it violate basically the equality clause? Equality clause is Article 14, which is fundamental right, which is the most sacrosanct fundamental right under our Constitution, apart from the freedoms that we enjoy under Article 19. So Article 14, which promises equality, and when I say that 10% reservation should be there for the economically weaker sections of the society, that means, am I violating equality? And in essence, also, am I violating the former Supreme Court judgment, which is a 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court in the Mandal Commission case, which is famously called as Mandal Commission, but actually it was Indira Sawhney versus Union of India. Now, for example, today's judgment will be called as the EWS judgment of India, although it is Janhit versus Union of India. So the thing is that the answer to that is no, it does not violate the Mandal Commission 50% quota, because that was a separate issue that was looking at the backward classes in SS, the Adivasis, the real, Dalits and all those people who never saw the light of the day the way you and I do, and who were always pushed aside, and they were told that, look, you belong to this section, so you cannot come in. And more of those, that was prevalent in the north.
Right.
So that is what the basic question will be, that whether it's so. The answer to that is no, it doesn't, in my opinion. And two, this looks at the forward sections of the society, but who are very poor. So in essence, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to give an admission to somebody in a private unaided college to a poor person.
Absolutely.
By saying that there has to be 10% reservation. So what is wrong with that? In fact, I'm trying to make that person
Mr. Kothari, stay with us. Just to update our viewers quickly, the judges have arrived in court. It is a 5-judge constitutional bench which is going to be announcing its verdict very shortly from now. Do remember that the verdict has been reserved for today. It was on the 27th of September, after hearing the case for 7 days consecutively, that this verdict was reserved. Coming back to Mr. Kothari. Now, Mr. Kothari, the second question that, a lot of educational institutions around the country will be watching out for is whether the government can force their hand in terms of providing reservation to economically weaker sections. Because the argument being made by them is that I couldn't quite get our producers over there. The argument that's being made is that, we can essentially provide that through, helping them in terms of providing economic support. Why do we have to set aside 10%? What are your thoughts on that?
This is that part that private unaided colleges, they may say that, look, the government has got no business telling me when I don't take aid from them what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to run my college. So to that part, to that extent, the word private college is aided or unaided in the amendment, where the word aided may be removed or may be considered as unconstitutional. So in part, that particular aspect could be considered unconstitutional, as the courts may say that, look, the private unaided colleges have the right to decide what they, what kind of reservations they need to have, or they don't want to have any reservation. So the unaided part may be removed, saying that that was unconstitutional, because unaided colleges should have the full autonomy and should not be governed even slightest by the dictates of the government or by the state, where the state would then say that, look, even to the most richest college, say the equivalent of a Harvard University or the equivalent of a Georgetown University, equivalent of a Columbia University in this country, who do not take any aid from the government, look, you need to give this to, 10% reservation. So they'll say, sorry, go to hell. We are already having our scholarships in place, and we are assisting not only the meritorious, but even the, not only the rich meritorious, but even the non-rich meritorious. So we don't want that reservation business in our this. And so this is something which could be a point of bone of contention, and the judges may have thought about it also and may declare that part as unconstitutional.
Just to tell our viewers, we are standing by for that verdict. We are expecting that verdict to come in very, very shortly. The judges have already assembled, is what we are told. As I was earlier saying, this is a 5-judge constitution bench answering some very, very critical questions. Now, Mr. Kothari, I wanted to come back to you. This is obviously going to have a lot of political ramifications. It's also going to become an issue of centre versus the states, because there are a lot of states, depending who rules which state, which are opposed to this. Specifically, for instance, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has been opposed to this. So what are your views on how do you see this going forward politically?
Well, there's always going to be politics when you have 29 states and 7 union territories. So, the judiciary has to stay away from it. It has to go simply by the dictates of the Constitution and decide what in its wisdom is the best route forward, whether or not to declare this totally unconstitutional, totally constitutional, partly constitutional, and partly unconstitutional. Those are the three, options that are there before the court. The court is not going to worry about, what's going to be the political fallout in Delhi or, say, in Tamil Nadu or, say, in Maharashtra for that matter, where there is a big ruckus on reservations any which ways. And then, of course, it is going to examine the issue on also that tomorrow there could be a linguistic reservation issue on these issues. So whether or not this judgment is going to foment that, whether or not this judgment is going to help that. So all of those things will also play in the minds of the judges before they come out with a judgment. And now that we are seeing that there is some sort of a split verdict in this, where one of the judges has a separate verdict, and that usually happens when you have 5 judges, and it sometimes happens even when you have 3 judges. So I'd be very interested to see what is that separate verdict. And I hope that overall the constitutional validity of 103rd Amendment is upheld, and it does not seem to be violates the Constitution. And as far as the real politicking of this is concerned, will be mainly in trying to bring in, the weaker sections of that society. So the debate will be there on what is the weaker sections and what not is the weaker section. So that is where the politics will play place.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
If this were to be held valid.
Absolutely. And as you're pointing out, that's going to be a big question on everybody's mind. Thereafter, once the judgment is out, of course, we are standing by for the judgment. Harsha is also joining us from outside the Supreme Court. I think I'm going to quickly...
These are the 3 major issues, or rather 3 major points for determination formulation as to whether reservation is an instrument for inclusion of socially and educationally backward classes to the mainstream of society, and therefore reservation structured singularly on economic criteria violates the basic structure of the Constitution. B, as to whether the exclusion of classes covered under Articles 15.4, 15.5 and 16.4 from getting benefit of reservation as economically weaker sections violates the Equality Code and thereby the basic structure doctrine. C, as to whether reservation for economically weaker sections of citizens up to 10% in addition to the existing reservations results in addition of basic structure on account of reaching the ceiling limit of 50%. These points for determination have been dealt with reference to the relevant constitutional provisions, doctrine of basic structure and constitutional amendments. Thereafter, the segments of the judgments are expanding doctrine of equality, affirmative action by reservation, exception to the general rule of equality, economic disabilities and affirmative action, whether economic criteria as sole basis for affirmative action violates basic structure, EWS reservation not availing to certain classes, whether violates basic structure, breach of 50% ceiling of reservations and basic structure, and then there are other factors and summations. After having dealt with these aspects, the conclusions are as follows. For what has been discussed and held herein above, the points formulated in paragraph 31, I just read that, are answered as follows. Reservation is an instrument of affirmative action by the state so as to ensure all inclusive march towards the goals of an egalitarian society while counteracting inequalities. It is an instrument not only for inclusion of socially and educationally backward classes to the mainstream of society, but also for inclusion of any class or section so disadvantaged as to be answering the description of a weaker section. In this background, reservation structured singularly on economic criteria does not violate any essential feature of the Constitution of India and does not cause any damage to the basic structure of the Constitution of India. B, the exclusion of the classes covered by Articles 15.4, 15.5 and 16.4 from getting the benefit of reservation as economically weaker sections, being in the nature of balancing the requirements of non-discrimination and compensatory discrimination, does not violate Equality Code and does not in any manner cause damage to the basic structure of the Constitution of India. C, reservation for economically weaker sections of citizens up to 10% in addition to the existing reservations does not result in violation of any essential feature of the Constitution of India and does not cause any damage to the basic structure of the Constitution of India on account of breach of the ceiling limit of 50% because that ceiling limit itself is not inflexible and in any case applies only to the reservations envisaged by Articles 15.4, 15.5 and 16.4 of the Constitution. Not much of the contentions have been urged in relation to the impact of the amendment in question on admissions to private unaided institutions. However, it could at once be clarified that what has been observed here and above in relation to the principal part of challenge to the amendment in question, read with the decision of this court in Pramati Trust, the answer to the issue framed in that regard would also be against the challenge. Accordingly, and in view of the above, the answers to the issues formulated in these matters are as follows. 1. The 103rd Constitution Amendment cannot be said to breach the basic structure of the Constitution by permitting the state to make special provisions, including reservation, based on economic criteria. 2. The 103rd Constitution Amendment cannot be said to breach the basic structure of the Constitution by permitting the state to make special provisions in relation to the admission to private unaided institutions. 3. The 103rd Constitution Amendment cannot be said to breach the basic structure of the Constitution in excluding the SEBCs, OBCs, SCs, STs from the scope of EWS reservation. Consequently, the transferred cases, transfer petitions, writ petitions, and the petition for special leave to appeal forming the part of this batch of matters are dismissed. Our acknowledgements while closing on this reference, sincere thanks and compliments deserve to be placed on record for the learned counsel for the respective parties, their associates and their researchers, and also all the constructive contributors whose erudite and scholarly presentation of respective viewpoints has rendered invaluable assistance to this court in shaping the formulations herein. Thank you.
I'll now invite Honorable Justice Bela Trivedi to place her view.
I have concurred with the opinion of Brother Justice Maheshwari. However, have penned down certain my views also. I'll just read them out. As well settled, it must be presumed that the legislature understands and appreciates the needs of its own people. Its laws are directed to the problems made manifest by experience, and its discriminations are based on adequate norms. Therefore, the constitutional amendment could not be struck down as discriminatory if the state of facts are reasonably conceived to justify it. In the instant case, the legislature, being aware of the exclusion of economically weaker section of the citizens from having the benefit of reservations provided to the SCs, STs, and SCBCs citizens in clause 4 and 5 of Article 15 and clause 4 of Article 16, has come out with the impugned amendment empowering the state to make special provisions for the advancement of EWS other than the classes mentioned in clause 4 and 5 of 15 and clause 4 of Article 16. The impugned amendment enabling the state to make special provisions for EWS of citizens other than SCs, STs, and SCBCs is required to be treated as an affirmative action on the part of the Parliament for the benefit of and for the advancement of the EWS of the citizens. Treating EWS of citizens as a separate class would be a reasonable classification and could not be termed as unreasonable or unjustifiable classification, much less a betrayal of basic feature or violative of Article 14. As laid down by this court, just as equals cannot be treated as unequals, unequals also cannot be treated as treated equally. Treating unequals as equals would be as well offend the doctrine of equality enshrined in Article 14 and 16 of the Constitution. The SCs, STs, and backward class for whom the special provisions have already been provided in Article 14, 15.4, 15.5, and 16.4 form a separate category as distinguished from the general or unreserved category. They cannot be treated at par with the citizens belonging to the general or unreserved category. The impugned amendment creates a separate class of EWS from the general or unreserved class without affecting the special rights of reservations provided to the SCs, STs, and SCBCs. Therefore, the exclusion from the newly created class for the benefit of EWS in the impugned amendment cannot be said to be discriminatory or violative of Equality Code. Such amendment would certainly not be termed as shocking, unconscionable, or unscrupulous travesty of quintessence of equal justice as sought to be submitted by learned counsels for the petitioners. The sum and substance is that the limitations, that is substantive or procedural, imposed on the exercise of constituent power of the state under Article 368 could not be said by any stretch of imagination to have been disregarded by the Parliament. Neither the procedural limitation, that is the mode of exercise of amending power, has been disregarded, nor substantive limitation, that is the restricted field, has been disregarded, which otherwise would invalidate the impugned amendment. What is visualized in the preamble and what is permissible, both in Part 3 and Part 4 of the Constitution, could not be said to be violative of the basic structure or basic feature of the Constitution. In absence of any obliteration of any of the constitutional provisions and in absence of any alteration or destruction in the existing structure of Equality Code or the basic structure of the Constitution, neither the width test nor the identity test as propounded in Keshwanan could be said to have been violated in the amendment. Accordingly, the challenge to the constitutional validity of 103rd Amendment fails and the validity thereof is upheld. And before parting, I have expressed my views on the time span to be prescribed for the reservation policy. I have quoted the observations made by the Constitution Bench in K.C. Vasant Kumar, observations of Justice D.A. Desai, Justice Venkatramaiah, Justice Chandrachud as he then was, and also in the case of Ashok Kumar. And at the end, I said, what was envisioned by the framers of the Constitution, what was proposed by the Constitution Bench in 1985, and what was sought to be achieved on the completion of 50 years of the advent of the Constitution, that is, the policy of reservation must have a time span, has still not been achieved even till this day. That is, till the completion of 75 years of our independence. It cannot be gainsaid that the age-old caste system in India was responsible for the origination of this reservation system in the country. It was introduced to correct the historical injustice faced by the persons belonging to the SCs, STs, and other backward classes, and to provide them a level playing field to compete with the persons belonging to the forward classes. However, at the end of 75 years of our independence, we need to revisit the system of reservation in the larger interest of the society as a whole, as a step forward towards the transformative constitutionalism. Be it noted that as per Article 334 of the Constitution, the provisions of Constitution relating to the reservation of seats for SCs and STs in the House of People and in the legislative assemblies of the states would cease to have effect on the expiration of the period of 80 years from the commencement of the Constitution. The representation of Anglo-Indian community in the House of Parliament and in the legislative assemblies of the state by nomination has already ceased by virtue of 104th Amendment that is with effect from 25th January 2020. Therefore, similar timeline, if prescribed, for the special provisions in respect of the reservations and representations provided in Article 15 and 16 of the Constitution, it would be a way forward leading to an egalitarian, casteless and classless society. Thank you so much.
May I now invite Justice Paradiwala to place his view.
Yes. While concurring with my esteemed brother, Justice Maheshwari, and my esteemed sister, Justice Bila Trivedi, and while upholding the validity of the impugned amendment, I have thought fit to observe, I quote, thus, reservation is not an end, but a means to secure social and economic justice. Reservation should not be allowed to become a vested interest. Real solution, however, lies in eliminating the causes that have led to the social, educational, and economic backwardness of the weaker sections of the community. This exercise of eliminating the causes started immediately after the independence, that is almost 7 decades back, and it still continues. The long-standing development and the spread of education have resulted in tapering the gap between the classes to a considerable extent. As larger percentages of backward class members attain acceptable standards of education and employment, they should be removed from the backward categories so that the attention can be paid towards those classes which genuinely need help. In such circumstances, it is very much necessary to take into review the method of identification and the ways of determination of backward classes, and also ascertain whether the criteria adopted or applied for the classification of backward is relevant for today's conditions. The idea of Baba Saheb Ambedkar was to bring social harmony by introducing reservation for only 10 years. However, it has continued past 7 decades. Reservation should not continue for an indefinite period of time so as to become a vested interest. In the result, I hold that the impugned amendment is valid and in no manner alters the basic structure of the Constitution. Thank you.
Finally, I invite Justice Satyendar Bhatt to place it.
I regret my inability to concur with the views expressed by the majority opinion on the validity of the 103rd Amendment on question number 3, since I feel, for reasons set out elaborately in the following opinion, that this court has for the first time in the seven decades of the Republic sanctioned an avowedly exclusionary and discriminatory principle. Our Constitution does not speak the language of exclusion. In my considered opinion, the amendment by the language of exclusion undermines the fabric of social justice and thereby the basic structure. I am of the opinion that the application of the doctrine of classification, differentiating the poorest segments of societies as one segment, that is the poor beneficiaries of reservation, and the other, the poorest who are subjected to additional disabilities due to caste stigmatization or social barrier-based discrimination, the latter being justifiably kept out of the new reservation benefit, is an exercise in deluding ourselves that those getting social and educational backwardness-based reservations are somehow more fortunate. This classification is plainly contrary to the essence of equal opportunity. If this Constitution means anything, it is that the code of Articles 15.1, 15.2, 15.4, 16.1, 16.2, and 16.4 are one indivisible whole. This court has reiterated time and again that Articles 16.1 and 16.4 are facets of the same equality principle. That we need Articles 15.4 and 16.4 to achieve equality opportunity guaranteed to all in Articles 15.1 and 16.1 cannot now be undermined through this reasoning to hold that the theory of classification permits exclusion on this very basis. The characterization of including the poor, that is, those who qualify for economic eligibility, among those covered under Articles 15.4 and 16.4 in the new reservations under 15.6 and 16.6 as bestowing double benefit is incorrect. What is described as benefits for those covered under Articles 15.4 and 16.4 by the Union cannot be understood to be a free pass, but as a reparative and compensatory mechanism meant to level the field, where they are unequal due to their social stigmatization. This exclusion violates the non-discrimination and the non-exclusionary facet of the Equality Code, which thereby violates the basic structure of the Constitution. The impugned amendment creates pathways, gateways, and opportunities to the poorest segments of our society, enabling them multiple access points to spaces they were unable to go, places and positions they were unable to fill, and opportunities they could not hope ever to ordinarily lose due to their destitution, economic deprivation, and penury. These destitution, economic deprivation, poverty are markers or intelligible differentia, forming the basis of the classification on which the impugned amendment is entirely premised. To that extent, the amendment is constitutionally indefeasible. However, by excluding a large section of the equally poor and destitute individuals based on their social backwardness and legally acknowledged caste stigmatization from the benefit of the new opportunities created for the poor, the amendment practices constitutionally prohibited forms of discrimination. The overarching principles under Articles 15.1, 15.2, 16.1 and 16.2 is that caste-based or community-based exclusion, that is the practice of discrimination, is impermissible. Whichever way one would look at it, the Constitution is intolerant towards discrimination and untouchability in all forms and manifestations which are articulated in Articles 15.1, 15.2, 16, 17, 23, and 24. It is equal prohibits exclusion based on past discriminatory practices. The exclusion made to the other than exclusionary clause negates these principles and strikes the heart of the Equality Code, specifically the non-discriminatory principle, which is a part of the core of the Constitution. The Sinnoh Commission was set up. The Sinnoh Commission was set up to examine the condition of economically backward and suggested measures, including the feasibility of reservations to improve their law. The report published in July 2010 is based upon the census of 2001 and later surveys. The statistics NSSO 2004-2005, which the report is based on, disclosed that in all 31.7 crore people were below the poverty line, BPL, of which the scheduled caste population was 7.74 crores. That is 38% of the total of the scheduled caste population in the country. Scheduled tribe population was 4.25 crores. That is 48.4% of the total scheduled tribes of the country. 13.86 crores of OBC population, which was 33.1% of the total OBCs, and 5.85 crores of the general category, which is 18.2% the total general category. These facts established that the bulk of the economically weaker sections of the society belong to the classes described in Articles 15.4 and 16.4. I pass on to question number 2, which is that unaided private institutions, including those imparting professional education, cannot be seen as standing out of the national mainstream. As held in Pramati and Society for Unaided Private Schools, reservations in private institutions is not per se violative of the basic structure. Thus, reservations as a concept cannot be ruled out in private institutions where education is imparted. They may not be the state or state instrumentalities, yet the value that they add is part of the national effort to develop skill and disseminate knowledge. These institutions, therefore, also constitute material resources of the community, in which the state has a vital interest and are not merely bodies set up to further private objective of their founders, unlike in the case of shareholders of the company. Therefore, I hold that on question number 2, the amendment is valid, but for reasons of answering question number 3, the amendment has to go. Before I sum up, I wish to address one point which the majority has dealt with, but more as a note of caution, because it is not necessary for me to deal with that aspect, which is the 50% cap. It is pertinent to note that the breach of the 50% limit is the principal ground of attack of the 76th Constitutional Amendment, 1994, which is inserted as entry 257A. The Tamil Nadu backward classes, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe reservation of seats in educational institutions under the State Act 1993. The validity of that enactment and whether the inclusion by the Constitutional Amendment violates the basic structure is directly an issue in a batch of cases pending before this court. The view of the members of this bench constituting a majority that the creation of another class which can be a recipient of up to 10% of reservation over and above 50% permitted under 15.4 or 16.4, in my considered opinion, therefore has a direct bearing on the likely outcome in the challenge in that proceeding. I would therefore sound this cautionary note, since this judgment may well seal the fate of the pending litigations without the benefit of hearing in those proceedings. The last reason why I find myself unpersuaded to agree with the opinion that the amendments, by creating a different kind of criteria, have to be viewed separately, and that Indira Sani was confined to reservations under 15.4 and 16.4, is because permitting the breach of the 50% rule, as it were, through this reasoning becomes a gateway for further infractions, which in fact would result in compartmentalization. The rule of reservation could well then become the rule of equality, or the right to equality, could then be easily reduced to the right to reservation, leading us back to the days of Champakam Durai Raja. In this regard, the observations of Ambedkar have to be kept in mind, that reservations are to be seen as temporary and exceptional, or else they could eat up the rule of equality. The fraternal principle, I'm now summing up, the fraternal principle is deeply embedded to this nation's ethos and culture. The specific provisions which form part of the Equality Code are inextricably intertwined with fraternity as well. It is fraternity and no other idea which acknowledges that ultimately all individuals are human beings born through the same natural process, subject to the same physical limitations, and finally leave this world at an unknown time but are sure to live. Fraternity is a concept awakens humans to the reality that despite our apparent or superficial differences, ethnic, religious, caste, gender, origin, or economic status, the institutions we create need our collective cooperation and individual commitment. Every social order invariably contains individuals with differences, be it grounded on ethnicity, wealth, talent, or realization of one's abilities. The diversities abound. The idea of fraternity is to awaken to the consciousness of each member of society that our institutions which are created, the ideas that we develop, and the progress that we wish to achieve cannot be in isolation, by separation, but with cooperation and harmony. On this, I want to highlight the words of two social reformers, which demonstrate that the principle of fraternity and the ideas and values connected to it are not new, but in fact transcend time. Swami Vivekananda's message in his address to the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago on 11 September 1893 has the theme of universal brotherhood of all, that differences in religion, the exclusion of one of other would fade. He evocatively said, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and destruction of others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him the hammer, the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. Aurobindo too was conscious of the need for fraternity. In a speech delivered in Howrah in 1909, he presciently said, again, there is fraternity. It is the last term of the gospel. It is the most difficult to achieve. Still, it is a thing towards which all religions call and human aspirations rise. There is discord in life, but mankind yearns for peace and love. This is the reason why the Gospels will preach brotherhood, which preach brotherhood, spread quickly, and excite passionate attachment. This was the reason for the rapid spread of Christianity. This was the reason of Buddha's spread in the country and throughout Asia. This is the essence of humanitarianism, the modern gospel of love for mankind. None of us have achieved our ideals, but human society has always attempted an imperfect and limited fulfillment of them. It is the nature, the dharma of humanity, that it should be unwilling to stand alone. Every man seeks the brotherhood of his fellow, and we can only live by fraternity with others. Through all its differences and discords, humanity is striving to become one. Summary of findings on questions 1 and 3. On question 1, it is held that the state's compelling interest to fulfill the objectives set out in the directive principles through special provisions on the basis of economic criteria is legitimate. That reservation or special provisions have so far been provided in favor of historically disadvantaged communities cannot be the basis for contending that other disadvantaged groups who have not been able to progress due to the ill effects of poverty should remain so, and the special provision should not be made by way of affirmative action. Therefore, the special provisions based on objective economic criteria is per se not violated. However, in answer to question 3, I have highlighted the framework within which it has been introduced by the impugned amendment, excluding backward classes. According to me, this is violative of the basic structure. A universally acknowledged truth is that reservations have been conceived and quotas created through provisions in the Constitution only to offset fundamental, deep-rooted generations of wrongs perpetrated on entire communities and castes. Reservation is designed as a powerful tool to enable equal access and equal opportunity. Introducing the economic basis for reservation as a new criterion is permissible. Yet, the othering of socially and educationally disadvantaged classes, including SCs, SCs, and OBCs, by excluding them from this new reservation on the ground that they enjoy pre-existing benefits, is to heap fresh injustice based on past disability. The exclusionary clause operates in an utterly arbitrary manner. First, it others those subjected to socially questionable and outlawed practices, though they are amongst the poorest sections of the society. Secondly, for the purpose of new reservation, the exclusion operates against socially disadvantaged classes and castes absolutely, by confining them within their allotted reservation quotas. Thirdly, it denies the chance of mobility from reserve quota based upon past discrimination to a reservation benefit based only on economic deprivation. The net result of the entire exclusionary principle is Orwellian, so to say, which is that all the poorest are entitled to be considered regardless of their caste or class, yet only those who belong to other classes or caste would be considered, and those from socially disadvantaged classes would be ineligible. Within the narrative of the classification jurisprudence, the differentia or marker distinguishing one person from the other is deprivation alone. The exclusion, however, is not based on deprivation, but social origin or identity. This strikes at the essence of the non-discriminatory rule.
To speak on that, sir, how do you see this verdict?
ये बहुत अच्छा फैसला है, लैंडमार्क जजमेंट है, इसका मैं स्वागत करता हूं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 3-4 बातें बहुत स्पष्ट कर दिया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये कह दिया कि केवल कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन नहीं होना चाहिए, बल्कि आर्थिक आधार पर भी आरक्षण दिया जा सकता है। दूसरा ये भी कह दिया कि जो 50% की सीलिंग है उसको बढ़ाई जा सकती है, और ये भी कह दिया कि ये जो 10% रिजर्वेशन है गरीबों के लिए, ये कास्ट बेस्ड नहीं है, इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया है। जो 50% की सीलिंग है वो कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन के लिए है, इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया के लिए नहीं है। जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जस्टिस बेला त्रिवेदी का जो ऑब्जर्वेशन है, उन्होंने कहा इस रिजर्वेशन सिस्टम को रिव्यू करने की जरूरत है। 75 साल हो गए, आखिर रिजर्वेशन कब तक चलेगा और कैसे कैसे चलेगा। मेरा भी ये मानना है कि बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग पिछले 3 जनरेशन से रिजर्वेशन ले रहे हैं, मतलब उनके दादा भी रिजर्वेशन के सहारे कलेक्टर बन गए, बेटा भी रिजर्वेशन के सहारे कलेक्टर बन गया, और नाती और पोते भी रिजर्वेशन के सहारे डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, प्रोफेसर बन रहे हैं। इसको रिव्यू करने की जरूरत है। भाई जो व्यक्ति एक बार सांसद बन गया, विधायक बन गया, कलेक्टर बन गया, तहसीलदार बन गया, थानेदार बन गया, मंत्री बन गया, गवर्नर बन गया, या वाइस प्रेसिडेंट प्रेसिडेंट बन गया, उसके बच्चों को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? अब रामविलास पासवान जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? रामनाथ कोविंद जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? उदित राज जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? जिसके घर में एक बार रिजर्वेशन हो गया उसको दोबारा नहीं मिलना चाहिए। इसलिए इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया मुझे लगता है SC ST OBC सब में फॉलो करना चाहिए। एक रिजर्वेशन का एक क्राइटेरिया हो, 6 लाख हो पर एनम या 8 लाख पर एनम हो, लेकिन जो है वो सबके लिए होना चाहिए, तभी वास्तव में नीडी लोगों को इसका फायदा मिलेगा। नहीं तो जो अमीर है वही बार बार लेता रहेगा, जो गरीब है उसको रिजर्वेशन नहीं मिलेगा।
तो आपको भी लगता है कि आर्थिक आधार पर ये जो रिजर्वेशन है ये हेल्पफुल रहेगा पुअर के लिए और डाउन
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल ये फायदा रहेगा। और SC ST OBC में भी एक इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया डाल देना चाहिए। 6 लाख डालें या 8 लाख डालें, वो डिस्कशन की जरूरत है, मुझे लगता है वाइडर एक डिस्कशन होना चाहिए। लेकिन मेरा मानना है कि जो झुग्गी झोपड़ी में रहने वाले, जो घर में हाउस होल्ड का काम कर रही है, जो ड्राइवर है, जो स्वीपर है, उसके बच्चे को रिजर्वेशन मिलना चाहिए, न कि कलेक्टर को, थानेदार को और मंत्री सांसद विधायकों के बच्चों
को। क्या लगता है इसके बाद सोसाइटी में 2019 में ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट आया, उसके बाद अभी अपहोल्ड किया गया सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा, आपको क्या लगता है अगले आगामी सालों में इसका इम्पैक्ट सोसाइटी पे कैसा हो?
इसका इम्पैक्ट ये होगा कि मुझे लगता है ग्रेजुअली धीरे धीरे हम इकोनॉमिक रिजर्वेशन की तरफ जाएंगे, इकोनॉमिक बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन जाएंगे, और फिर स्लाइटली मुझे लगता है हम लोग रिजर्वेशन से बाहर भी आ जाएंगे, क्योंकि एक टाइम ऐसा भी आएगा, शायद 20-25 साल में आ जाएगा, जहां इस देश में रिजर्वेशन नहीं बल्कि मेरिट की जरूरत होगी।
So you talked about merit, and are you pro reservation or you think that merit should be the?
नहीं, अभी वर्तमान कंडीशन में मैं जो कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन है उसको मानता हूं, लेकिन जो एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम है उसके मैं बिल्कुल खिलाफ हूं, क्योंकि हो ये रहा है कि सांसदों के, विधायकों के, मंत्रियों के, थानेदारों के, कलेक्टरों के बच्चे रिजर्वेशन का बेनिफिट ले रहे हैं। वास्तव में जो झुग्गी में रहने वाला है, जो स्वीपर है, जो क्लर्क है या कंडक्टर है या जो चपरासी है या किसान है या मजदूर है, उसके बच्चे को रिजर्वेशन का फायदा नहीं मिल रहा है। उनके बच्चे बहुत हाई फाई स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ पाते, हाई फाई कोचिंग नहीं करा पाते, उनको बेनिफिट नहीं मिल रहा है। इसलिए एक इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया, चाहे वो पर ईयर पर मंथ 50,000 का हो या पर मंथ 60,000 का हो, जो भी है, लेकिन एक इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया SC ST OBC रिजर्वेशन में भी डालना चाहिए।
Thank you, sir. Thank you for speaking with Republic. So it was Advocate Ashwini Upadhyay who welcomed the Supreme Court verdict on EWS quota. However, he added few things into it, like the economic criteria on which the quota is there for general category should go to the SC, ST and other categories, and there should be a generalization of reservation, and according to him in coming years the reservation gradually would end. With video journalist Bhishma, this is Sambhav Sharma from Supreme Court.
All right, so just breaking down this verdict that has come in today, this is a landmark judgment that has been delivered by the topmost court of the country. The Supreme Court has upheld by 4:1 the 10% EWS reservation. The Constitution bench over there upholding it by 4:1. Just to tell our viewers that the Chief Justice of India, UU Lalit, Justice Dinesh Maheshwari, Justice Bela Trivedi and Justice JB Padriwala gave the majority judgment. Justice Ravindra Bhatt disagreed and termed it unconstitutional. I'm going to go across to Mr. Sankla, who's joining us right now. Mr. Sankla, so landmark judgment coming in, essentially the Supreme Court upholding this, and all the judges that we were hearing essentially seem to point to the fact that this is the doctrine of equality that has been adopted by the government. So your thoughts on this landmark judgment?
Well, first of all, we actually live in very exciting times. The kind of judgments that have been delivered by the Honorable Supreme Court, changing the laws, changing the concepts and changing how we understand various aspects of law is profound. Now, this judgment is very interesting. I'm also waiting to see what would happen to the Karnataka and to the Tamil Nadu reservation cases which are pending. But it's a very interesting thing how equality has been understood by 4 judges and by Justice Bhatt. And though, my reasonable mind says that any kind of quota should go, why should it be there? India is developed and all of that. That's the rational mind. But when I was also hearing and going through what Justice Bhatt said, he did make some very compelling arguments. You see, as far as equality is concerned, and as far as reading and protecting the Constitution is concerned, I really wonder, and I need to read the judgment once again, to see whether a social differentiation infringes upon the basic structure of the Constitution or not. I understand that 4 judges have said, no, it doesn't. It just creates a sliver. It doesn't take away the rights of the SC, ST and OBC. But the fact is that, consistently, Keshwanand Bharti, as I keep coming to it, has stated that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended. Now, what cannot be done by law cannot be done by any circuitous way as well. And so it is surprising for me. And as I said, I would be very excited to read what Justice Lalit, Justice Maheshwari and Justice Trivedi has said to understand how they have differentiated this. Because I am, as I said, a criminal and a constitutional lawyer, and I would do anything to protect my constitution. It's a beautiful piece of work. The difficulty that I'm facing is when Justice Bhatt says this, that the social differentiation infringes upon the basic structure of constitution. It does make me wonder whether Justice Bhatt is right or wrong. As far as the minority view is concerned, that is one aspect. The other aspect of it is that whether this reservation would also affect private institutes. I understand that the judges have have stated something on that. But the concept of private institutes or minority-held institutes is that those are pro that minority that they are catering to. So whether this EWS categorization would affect that or not is something that I would really like to see as well.
Also, what I wanted to bring your attention to, Mr. Sankla, over there is that, of course, you pointed out, that the change, that there is a difference in perception of what constitutes for equality, and that has been the basis of this judgment. Now, the other part of it also is that they have essentially said that they are in agreement with affirmative action that has been taken by the government of the day. Also, the question of 50% reservation, they say that that's really something that can be breached if there is a need for it. Now, what do you make of that aspect?
My understanding is that the Honorable Court has not said that you can breach it. What they have said, in my understanding, is that the affirmative action creates a sliver that does not breach the basic fabric of the Constitution. Now, this is why I said that, but when Justice Bhatt says this, that the purpose of Article 15.4 and 16.4 was that the categorization should be done on basis of your birth. It makes me wonder whether, as I said, is Justice Bhatt right or wrong? Because, you see, a poor man can be rich tomorrow, and a rich man can be poor tomorrow. But unfortunately, a man born to a certain caste would always remain a part of that certain caste. So therefore, I think that was the protective mechanism that was seen when the Constitution was created. So either we say that all kinds of quota should go, it should be completely merit-based. And today we say that there cannot be any kind of quota, any kind of benefit given to any minority, majority, poor, rich, fair, dark, Anglo-American, Anglo-Indian, whatever. It still makes sense to me. But where you say that no, there is certain kind of benefits given to a certain segment or certain sector of people, then I wonder when Justice Bhatt again said that should there be any such amendment, it is to right what was the previous wrong. It is not a free pass.
Right.
And when you actually think about it, and in complete deference to the four judges, I just wonder.
Just a quick correction over there, Mr. Sankla. Now, there were two dissenting judges. We are given to understand that this has passed 3-2. Justice UU Lalit as well as Justice Bhatt have both dissented with the upholding of the EOW quota. Now, I'm going to go back to Mr. Sankla on this one. Mr. Sankla, what we're also, looking at very closely at that judgment is the part where it was said that reservation should be subject to review. And a lot of people in this country will find an echo with that today when, one of the judges over there, the justices over there said that this cannot go on forever. It needs to be reviewed. There need to be new mechanisms in place to identify people who actually require reservation. Your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. And that's what I say. I completely agree with that. I believe that all kinds of reservations should go. I believe that the world should be all in black and white, as fair education system should be normal, equal for everybody. I believe in that. You see, as far as EWS categorization in schools are concerned, it's also failing miserably, isn't it? I mean, you have a poor child studying in a school where people are coming in Mercedes, and he doesn't even have probably bus money. How does he actually justify his existence in that school? It is difficult for that child. You have to understand that as well. So when they say that as far as quota is concerned, we should revisit it. I am in complete agreement. But where you say that let us create one more quota, that is the place where I have a little bit of a problem, as I said, as a constitutional lawyer. I understand that one of the judges said, and very beautifully so, I think it was Justice Trivedi who said that treating EWS a separate class is reasonable because unequals cannot be treated equally. I think that's a beautiful
Absolutely.
line. But the converse is as true.
Right, Mr. Sankla, do stay with us. I think
so. The converse.
Right. Mr. Sankla, do stay with us. Our legal editor also joining us right now. Rhythm, it's a historic judgment, whatever you say, but we are now getting to understand that Justice U.U. Lalit as well as Justice Ravindra Bhatt have both dissented. This is a 3-2 verdict. Both of them feel that this is violative of the basic structure, but it does go forward. So in that sense, this is not going to be rolled back at all, Rhythm.
Absolutely. And the big news that's coming in from the Supreme Court, like Kapil Sankla was also telling us, this is an historic judgment. And I do believe that irrespective of the fact that it's 3-2, the fact is that even with two dissenting opinions, the majority upholds the pro-poor quota. So the landmark decision is there to stay, which clearly means that reservations in India when it comes to certain schools and public colleges will continue. The Supreme Court 5-judge bench has upheld the reservation for economically weaker sections of society in government jobs and colleges across India. Now, what has been upheld? The Supreme Court has 5-judge constitution bench upholds the constitutional validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which introduced 10% reservation, and that's the reservation for economically weaker sections in education and public employment. Why is this relevant? Because therefore, after this, it's clearly admitted by the court that we will continue to have this. There have been two dissenting judgments, but first I want to go across to the majority judgment that has been reiterated in the courtroom by Justice Maheshwari and his brother judges, in which they have stated, and I'm just going to read out the words that they've said as the Supreme Court has put this out before them. Yes. So, by the way, it's one of the first times ever, viewers, that we're able to live watch a verdict that's coming in from the top court. And we saw that on Justice Lalit's last day. Justice Maheshwari had stated that there are certain questions formulated, after which we also saw that he said whether EWS of 10%, whether EVS of 10% in addition of 50% violates basic structure will have to be seen. And he says that reservation is an instrument of affirmative action by the state so as to ensure an all-inclusive approach. He then said in this background, it does not violate the basic structure of the Constitution. He also says reservation structured singularly on economic criteria does not violate the basic structure. Amendment cannot be said to be a breach of the basic structure of Constitution. After which, after he spoke, Justice Bela M. Trivedi gave her judgment. Let me first go across to reactions that are coming in from advocates across the country. Take a look.
ये जो संशोधन किया गया है वो संविधान की मंशा के अनुरूप है, जबकि जस्टिस रविंद्र भट्ट और जस्टिस मुख्य न्यायमूर्ति ललित ने कहा कि ये संविधान की मंशा के विपरीत नहीं है और एक्सक्लूजन जो किया गया है वो संविधान की जो मूल भावना है या उसके अनुच्छेद हैं उसके अगेंस्ट है। नाम सर, नाम हम लिख के भेज देंगे ना सर, गौरव यादव। हाँ,
All right, as the lawyers in the courtroom are also saying two dissenting opinions, three concurring judgments, viewers, let me also tell you what Justice Trivedi had stated in the courtroom. She said legislature attends and understands the needs of the people and is aware of the economic exclusion of certain people from reservation, and therefore she concurs with Justice Maheshwari. She also says this amendment enabling state to make special provision for other than the SC/ST should be treated as affirmative action by the parliament. The amendment as a separate class is a reasonable classification. What they are talking about, therefore, is for now the 10% economic reservation in colleges, in government jobs will continue for the economically weaker sections, because they believe it cannot be said that the age-old caste system in India led to the introduction of reservations, and so SC/ST got level playing field. At the end of the 75 years, we need to take a relook at reservations in general in spirit of transformative constitutionalism. If I can also go across to my guests who are with us, before I just do that, I'm going to say Justice Pardiwala says reservation should not continue for an indefinite time so that it becomes a vested interest, and therefore he says, finally, I uphold the EWS judgment. Justice Bhatt has dissented. And viewers, as the dissent continues and Justice Lalit also dissents, the landmark judgment clearly says that Constitutional Amendment 103 is going to be upheld and it is here to stay. We're back on this coverage after a short break. Stay on with us.
Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned AFP Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier two letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A five-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of poor among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. After the ED issued fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, the Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon Police Station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered. A case has also been registered. MOS MEA V. Muralidharan arrived in Brazil. Muralidharan is set to address Brazilian Congress at a session on 75 years of India's independence and also interact with Brazilian leadership and Indian community. DMK MP Kanimoi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimoi has said to make a disrespecting comment by the Governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people is against constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned AFP Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier 2 letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs.
All right, and there's news that's coming in right now when we're going to go across and say the Supreme Court upholds the pro-poor quota. We've also seen once again Udit Raj says the Supreme Court is casteist in a tweet, and he's once again making these controversial statements. The Congress leader says when it comes to EWS reservation, how was it reversed that the 50% limit is not a constitutional obligation, but whenever it comes to give reservation to SC, ST, OBC, the 50% limit in Indira Swami case is cited. Before I go across to this couple, I do believe it's Udit Raj, once again the Congress leader, trying to once again besmirch a very important pillar of our democracy.
You know, the problem with politicians mostly is that they don't understand law and how the legal process works. And that's our misfortune, that so much of footage is given to them. Rightly or wrongly, the Honorable Supreme Court has applied its mind. It has gone through the law that is there, the precedents that are there. It has gone through international precedents as well and delivered a judgment. I may not agree with it intellectually, but it will be foolish of me to cast personal remarks against the Honorable Supreme Court. I just told you that I'm looking forward to reading the judgment because there is a judgment that is pro-EWS, but I also am in concurrence with Justice, but intellectually. So therefore, for a politician to make personal comments, I am so sorry. I feel sorry for him. If he would have come up with some bright idea about some international law precedents or something like that, I would have respected him. So I have nothing to say to a person like that who probably is just wanting free footage. Sorry. The second thing I would like to say is this, that, you know, people, you just said that about Justice Trivedi. He said that there should be a time limit to SC/ST representation in Parliament by reservation. And as far as the reservation is concerned, also talking about the Anglo-Indians. So I am again in concurrence with what he says. I think it is high time that we do revisit. But my only difficulty is this, as I said. While revisiting it, why are we creating just another quota? And what happens tomorrow with somebody else? For example, you will have probably, I'm just saying, an LGBTQ activist who comes and says, oh, we need a quota as well. And somebody else comes and says, we need a quota as well. What are we actually creating? Are we creating a quota country once again? And the whole idea is to actually remove the quota and create a level playing field for everyone. And my heart does go out to, you know, and I've said this before in some forum, that, you know, the weaker brother was usually slapped around. This is how I think that, you know, as Indians are concerned, we are one big family. There is somebody who's poor, not probably powerful enough. And we probably beaten him around when he was young. But we've all grown up. It is high time that we own up to our mistakes and say sorry to our younger brother. I'm talking about the SC/STs. Say, we are sorry. When we were younger, we were not very intelligent. You know, this is how we used to play. We are sorry. But come and play with us now. This is what you're talking about, creating a level playing field. What you're doing is that you're also calling your country cousins and saying, please come with us. You also can play kachi mitti with us. You will not be out. This is not what we want. But having said that, this is in complete regard to what the Honorable Supreme Court has said. And as I said, that is in concurrence with what has been said by the court. But when I read what Justice Bhatt has said, I do see the words of caution coming from him. I mean, when Justice Maheshwari says that 103rd Amendment is contrary to basic structure, I think he's the one who said that. And Justice Trivedi said, no, it isn't. There's a sliver that has been created. Unequals cannot be treated equally. I am in concurrence with what they say. But when Justice Bhatt also says that the amendment is deluding us to believe that getting quota is being better placed, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, or quota is a compensatory mechanism, is not a free pass. You know, I would wait as an intellectual and read it and try to assimilate it. I would not call anybody biased here. I would just say intellectually they've applied their mind. And this is the beauty of our democratic country and our judicial process. So when somebody is trying to belittle it for his own hidden or vote bank, it is unfortunate. That is all.
Yes. And Kapil, I would like to tell our viewers that as this judgment comes, Justice Bhatt, Justice Lalit had given a different judgment. But, you know, the Congress is once again trying to besmirch the reputation of the judiciary. And that is what is shocking for me. When the Congress hits out at the Supreme Court and calls them casteist, I'm not realize. Okay, first let me go across on the phone line. Joining us is Professor S.P. Baghel. He is the MOS in the Law Ministry. Professor Baghel, first, your views, sir, on the order of the Supreme Court, and then I'm going to ask you on the words of Udit Raj, who calls the Supreme Court casteist.
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट की संविधान पीठ के जो आज निर्णय आया है ईडब्ल्यूएस के रिजर्वेशन को जारी रखने के लिए, मैं उसका स्वागत करता हूं। और देश है संविधान और कानून से चलेगा, तो जो भी किसी को भी दिक्कत होती है लोकसभा के किसी निर्णय को लेकर के, तो वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट जा सकते हैं। लोअर कोर्ट में दिक्कत होती है तो हाई कोर्ट के फैसले से किसी को ऑब्जेक्शन होता है तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट जा सकते हैं। लास्ट में सुप्रीम कोर्ट की संविधान पीठ जो होती है वो हम सबके लिए मान्य होती है और हम मानने के लिए बाध्य भी होते हैं। और जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में 2019 में जो ईडब्ल्यूएस को 10% आरक्षण दिया गया था, 5 जजों की संविधान पीठ में 3 लोगों ने बहुमत के साथ इसको जारी रखने का आदेश दिया है। ये एक अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि सवर्ण वर्ग में भी बहुत से लोग महागरीब होते हैं। जातियों के अनुसार लोग अमीरी, गरीबी या मध्यम वर्ग में नहीं पैदा होते हैं, बल्कि पैदा होना एक संयोग होता है। और उसके बाद मैं देखता हूँ ब्राह्मण समाज में बहुत सी महिलाएं दूसरे के घरों में भोजन बनाती हैं। वैश्य समाज में भी, क्षत्रिय समाज में भी बहुत लोग गरीब होते हैं। तो जिस देश में 80 करोड़ लोग 5 किलो गेहूं और चावल पिछले 3 साल से मुफ्त में लेने के लिए पसंद हो रहे हैं, इस 80 करोड़ में 12,000 का केवल शौचालय के लिए प्रधान के पास आते हैं और 1.5 लाख के प्रधानमंत्री ग्रामीण आवास के लिए मैं समय आगरा में जनता से मिल रहा हूँ, तो वहाँ लोग आते हैं। तो कहने का मतलब है कि गरीब लोग हर वर्ग में होते हैं। और 5 जजों में से माननीय 3 जजों ने इसके पक्ष में अपनी बात कही है। और इसकी शर्तें आपको पता ही है कि 100 वर्ग का आवासीय प्लॉट ना हो, 8 लाख रुपए से कम उनकी इनकम हो, 1000 वर्ग फुट या उससे ज्यादा का उनका आवासीय फ्लैट नहीं होना चाहिए और 5 एकड़ से ज्यादा एग्रीकल्चर लैंड उनके पास नहीं होनी चाहिए। तो ये उसकी शर्तें हैं, इसमें बहुत लोग शामिल होते हैं। और ईडब्ल्यूएस में भी ऐसा नहीं है कि जो ईडब्ल्यूएस में जो भी होता है वो सबका सिलेक्शन हो ही जाएगा, क्योंकि ईडब्ल्यूएस की भी संख्या ज्यादा है, पदों की संख्या कम होती है। तो ईडब्ल्यूएस में जो बच्चे पढ़ने में होशियार होंगे उन्हीं का चयन हो पाया करेगा।
सर, मैं आपसे ये भी पूछना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे ही जजमेंट आई जिसमें 3 जजेस ने अपहोल्ड किया है रिजर्वेशन को, कांग्रेस लीडर उदित राज ने एक ट्वीट किया है जिसमें उन्होंने हिंदी और इंग्लिश में ये कहा है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट कास्टिस्ट है। तो ये किस तरह की पॉलिटिक्स खेली जा रही है जहां पे अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी उनकी जजमेंट पे नाम बुलाए जा रहे हैं?
ये सो कॉल्ड जो दलित नेता हैं, इनको भ्रम है। अगर ये अभी भारतीय जनता पार्टी से एमपी थे, इनकी टिकट रहती दिल्ली वाली, तो ये इस प्रकार का बयान नहीं देते, क्योंकि सिटिंग एमपी थे बीजेपी से और उनको लड़ाया गया था 14 में, 19 में उनकी टिकट काटी गई। तो ये उनकी व्यक्तिगत खुंदस है। मैं और माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर इस प्रकार की गई टिप्पणी डेमोक्रेसी को कमजोर करती है। हमारे यहाँ संविधान में जिन बाबा साहब भीमराव अम्बेडकर को उदित राज जी और हम सभी लोग बहुत ज्यादा मानते हैं, उन्होंने उनके द्वारा, उनके सहयोगी द्वारा लिखित संविधान में हमारी सबकी लक्ष्मण रेखाएं हैं। कार्यपालिका, विधायिका और न्यायपालिका के अधिकार और कर्तव्य बहुत स्पष्ट हैं। और बहुमत के साथ आए हुए इस फैसले पर इतनी प्रतिकूल टिप्पणी करना डेमोक्रेसी के लिए अच्छा नहीं है। ये वो लोग हैं जिनका लोकतंत्र में विश्वास नहीं है, इनका भीड़ तंत्र में विश्वास है।
बिल्कुल, जैसे आपने ये बात कही, मैं आपसे एक सवाल और करना चाहती हूँ। जो गवर्नमेंट की जो ये आई है, इसमें जस्टिस त्रिवेदी, जस्टिस महेश्वरी ने जो जजमेंट दी है, इसमें बहुत बहुत क्लियरली इन लोगों ने कहा है कि हमें ये रिजर्वेशन आज चाहिए 75 इयर्स के बाद, कल हम इसको रिव्यू कर सकते हैं।
हाँ, हमारे संविधान में भी इस प्रकार की थी कि ये शुरू में 10-20 सालों के लिए था और जब पार्लियामेंट महसूस करती है कि इसको और आगे रहना है तो उसके लिए हर बार लाया जाता है और उसको बहुमत के साथ वो होता है। तो मैं तो चाहता हूँ कोई दिन ऐसा आए जब दलित और पिछड़े अपने हक और हुकूक पा लें और इतने योग्य हो जाएं कि वो सामान्य सीटों पर भी आने लगे, तब कुछ हो सकता है। लेकिन फिलहाल मुझे लगता है कि आरक्षण की महती आवश्यकता है।
जी, मैं आखिरी सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ। जिस तरह से आपने कहा कि हमारी डेमोक्रेसी वीकन होती है अगर ऐसी बातें बोली जाएं, क्या उदित राज और कांग्रेस को ये नहीं पता कि जिस तरह की वो स्टेटमेंट्स दे रहे हैं जजमेंट पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट की, ये कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट भी है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कास्टिस्ट बुलाना उनकी जजमेंट पे, और उसके बाद वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट्स के साथ भी अब खेलना?
मेरा अपना अनुमान और अंदाज है कि निश्चित तौर से कुछ लोग या तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट सीधे ही इसको संज्ञान में लेगी, इस टिप्पणी को, और नहीं तो मुझे लगता है कि ढेर सारी याचिकाएं भी होंगी उनके इस बयान पर, जिसपे कंटेम्प्ट के बारे में। निश्चित कंटेम्प्ट तो चलो माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट खुद ही संज्ञान में ले सकता है, लेकिन उनके इस बयान पर, उनके इस स्टेटमेंट पर, बल्कि देश तोड़ने वाला ये स्टेटमेंट है, ये सामाजिक एकता को तोड़ने वाला है, भाईचारा को तोड़ने वाला है, सद्भाव को तोड़ने वाला है। कोई ना कोई PIL में भी जाएगा, ऐसा मेरा अंदाज है। फिर माननीय अदालत तय करेगी कि उनका ये बयान अपराध की किस सीमा तक आता है।
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। हमारे साथ बनने के लिए धन्यवाद बघेल साहब। और ये हम देखना चाहते हैं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ये जजमेंट जो अपहोल्ड करती है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के 103rd अमेंडमेंट को, हाउ दिस इज गोइंग टू गो फॉरवर्ड। वी थैंक यू टू द मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट ऑफ लॉ एंड जस्टिस फॉर बीइंग विद अस। Viewers, the breaking news that's coming in, and I want to first go across to that and get in our guests and panelists on it. The Supreme Court today upholds the constitutional amendment of the 103rd amendment to the constitution, and Justice Pardiwala says reservation should not continue for an indefinite time so that it's not there for a vested interest, but he also upholds the EWS amendment. We've also seen the words of Justice Trivedi, who says it cannot be said that the age-old caste system led to introduction of reservations. As we continue staying with the story after a short break, we'll also go across to words coming in from the Congress on a Supreme Court constitution bed judgment. Stay on with us.
Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier two letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A five-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of poor among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. After the ED issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case. The Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky, with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon Police Station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended
coming in from the top court where now there is relief for Hemant Soren, Jharkhand Chief Minister. The Supreme Court allows the appeal of the Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren and the state government. This is against the Jharkhand High Court order, which had accepted the maintainability of a PIL in connection with shell companies related to Soren allegedly and his associates. I'm going to put it in non-technical legal language. There is relief that is coming in right now for Hemant Soren because his appeal, Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren's appeal in the Supreme Court has been allowed. The state government's appeal has been allowed. It has accepted the maintainability of a PIL in connection with the shell companies that were allegedly related to Soren and his associates. And they had actually challenged the Jharkhand High Court order on the PIL filed seeking independent probe against Soren in relation to shell companies allegedly related to him. Let me go across and take a break and be coming back to the top focus where the Supreme Court allows the appeal of Jharkhand Chief Minister. Back after a short break. Stay on with us.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he's attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam led by officer in charge of Chiagaon police station busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered. A case has also been registered. MOSMA V. Muralidharan arrived in Brazil. Muralidharan is set to address Brazilian Congress at a session on 75 years of India's independence and also interact with Brazilian leadership and Indian community. DMK MP Kanimoi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimoi has said to make a disrespecting comment by the Governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people is against constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier 2 letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees.
Welcome back. You are watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV. News just coming in. In fact, we are now learning that the Gujarat High Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the incident in Morbi. In fact, the Chief Justice has said that this is a disheartening incident wherein hundreds of citizens died an untimely death. Let's go across to Rhythm, who joins us as well now. Rhythm, we are learning that the Chief Justice has in fact sought a report within the next 10 days of steps that have been taken by the state. Tell us more.
Yes, so the Gujarat High Court takes suo motu cognizance, Nupur, of the Morbi incident. The Chief Justice, like you said, of the Gujarat High Court says it's a disheartening incident wherein hundreds of citizens have died in untimely deaths. He has sought a report on this within 10 days from the state of Gujarat, and they've ordered the state, the Morbi Municipal Corporation, the UDD, the Chief Secretary, the State of Human Rights Commission to be impleaded as parties. These instructions have been given out to the Registrar of the High Court, but the breaking news that's actually coming in after the Morbi tragedy, the Gujarat High Court takes suo motu cognizance of the Morbi incident. Within 10 days, a report is sought by the Gujarat High Court, which is seeking the report on what steps have been taken so far. The Gujarat High Court orders the state municipal bodies and others to also be directed to give out details about what steps have been taken. They will be implemented as parties. So really speaking, it's the Gujarat High Court that's going to take stock of action that has been taken in the Morbi incident and what steps can be taken to avoid it.
All right, Rhythm, thank you for that. In fact, you are watching Republic TV, and still to come, we bring you more details on what the Gujarat High Court has said about the Morbi tragedy.
After the ED issued a fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, the Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky, with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he is attending that mass marriage.
Team of Kamrup District Police in Assam, led by officer in charge of Chiagaon Police Station, busted fake Indian currency racket and apprehended 5 people. According to the police officials, fake currency notes, 1 printing machine, 8 phones and other objectionable items were recovered. A case has also been registered. MOS MEA V. Muralidharan arrived in Brazil. Muralidharan is set to address Brazilian Congress at a session on 75 years of India's independence and also interact with Brazilian leadership and Indian community. DMK MP Kanimoi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimoi has said to make a disrespecting comment by the Governor against those representatives who have been elected by the people is against constitutional rights. Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining leases are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict.
In a landmark verdict, the Supreme Court has upheld the validity of the quota for economically weaker sections in a 3:2 majority. This on the grounds that it did not violate the Constitution. The Apex Court pronounced its judgment on a batch of pleas challenging the validity of the 103rd Constitutional Amendment providing 10% reservation to economically weaker sections of society in admissions and government jobs. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has written a third letter to the Delhi Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena. He alleged that the Aam Aadmi Party leader Satyendar Jain took 50 crore rupees from him. He's also requested the LG to direct an urgent CBI investigation and allow him to file an FIR in the matter.
Is it true that the money was exchanged at the farmhouse of Kailash Gehlot, another minister in your government? Today, instead of allowing a free and fair probe and making his minister step down so that a free and fair probe can take place without any fear or favor, Mr. Kejriwal once again plays the victimhood card and tries to skirt the issue. Mr. Kejriwal must tell us that ये कौन से 4 यार थे जो मिल रहे थे तिहार में और कर रहे थे भ्रष्टाचार.
After the Enforcement Directorate issued a fresh summon to the Karnataka Congress State President DK Shivakumar asking him to appear before it on the 7th of November in connection with the ongoing money laundering case, DK Shivakumar has said that he will be occupied with the party and will be skipping the summons. In fact, he's already skipped them. The DMK MP Kanimoi has sought an appointment to meet President Draupadi Murmu to submit its petition to recall the Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. Kanimoi said to make a disrespecting comment by the governor against those representatives who had been elected by the people is against the constitutional rights. Two youths from Arunachal Pradesh have been missing since August this year when they had set out in search of medicinal plants near the state's border with China. The elder brother of one of the missing youths said that there is a doubt that they crossed the Indian boundary and were abducted by China. He also requested the central government to help in finding them. The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will begin his two-day visit to Russia today. He will be holding talks with the country's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and this is in continuation of his regular high-level dialogue between the two sides. Talks between the two sides are expected to cover the entire range of bilateral issues and exchange views on various regional and international developments. You are with Republic TV, and still to come, 10% quota for the poor is upheld by the Supreme Court. 3 out of 5 judges uphold the pro-poor quota. And Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to the LG of Delhi, alleges indirect threats from Satyendar Jain inside the jail.
Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict today on whether the petition filed against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren alleging money laundering through shell companies and obtaining mining lease are maintainable or not. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Dinesh Maheshwari are set to pronounce the verdict. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar has shot off another letter to Delhi LG alleging that he has been receiving threats on behalf of now imprisoned AFP Minister Satyendar Jain and DG Prison Sandeep Goyal, who's been transferred. In earlier 2 letters, Sukesh had claimed that Arvind Kejriwal promised a Rajya Sabha seat in lieu of 50 crore rupees. A 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice of India UU Lalit is scheduled to pronounce judgment on the challenge to the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, which provides 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions to the economically weaker sections of society, but excludes the poorest of poor among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes from its ambit. After the ED issued fresh summons to Karnataka Congress State Chief DK Shivakumar, asking him to appear before it on November 7th, which is today, in connection with the ongoing money laundering case. The Karnataka's Congress State Chief has stated that he will not be attending, he will not be going for the quizzing in connection with the scam, and that he would be attending a birthday party of his party worker instead. Delhi woke up to a lingering smoke covering its sky, with the overall AQI under the very poor category at 326. Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai will chair a high-level meet to discuss new directions by Centre's Air Quality Panel about revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the Graded Response Action Plan.
The RSS holding a rally in Cuddalore in Tamil Nadu after the massive face-off between the state government and the RSS. The BJP that has won 3 out of the 7 seats in the by-polls today. The Prime Minister in Bhavnagar is not just going to be speaking to the people there, he's attending that mass marriage.
Battle for Himachal Pradesh's elections heat up. The BJP deploys top guns in Himachal Pradesh campaign. 10% quota for the poor is upheld in the Supreme Court. 3 out of 5 judges uphold the poor quota. Conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar writes another letter to the LG. Sukesh alleges indirect threats by Jain inside jail. A key Delhi government meeting is to be held on new directions by the Centre's Air Quality Panel on revoking curbs imposed under the final stage of the GRA plan. DK Shivakumar skips the ED's summons in the money laundering case, says he'll be attending a party worker's birthday event. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for staying with us on Republic TV. This is Live and Breaking. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. Now, the Supreme Court, by a majority view of 3-2, has upheld the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment providing 10% reservation to people belonging to the economically weaker sections in admissions and government jobs. Now, the top court said that the law on EWS quota does not violate the basic structure of the Constitution. In fact, we are given to understand that this has been received very positively across the country. In fact, we're going to cut across right now to Gursimran, who's reporting from Jammu, where Gursimran, we are told that celebrations have actually broken out and people are extremely happy with the Supreme Court upholding this.
आरक्षण 50 को इनांस करके 60 करेंगे और 10% आरक्षण गरीबों को दिया जाएगा और वो गरीब जिनका कोई सहारा नहीं है उस आरक्षण का हम स्वागत करने का प्रयास करना चाहते हैं। अब मैं समझता हूं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय के बाद कोई राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए।
सर, जो पहले राजनीतिक दल कह रहे थे कि गलत हो रहा है,
किस बात का गलत? गरीबों के विषय के अंदर कोई विचार करने का प्रयास नहीं करना चाहता। और अगर गवर्नमेंट ने, मोदी की सरकार ने ये एक बात सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अंदर रखने का प्रयास करा और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उसका निर्णय दे दिया, यह स्वागत योग्य है। इसलिए हम लड्डू ढोल नगाड़े
देखिए बिल्कुल
करने का प्रयास करना चाहते हैं।
स्वागत करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। ढोल देखिए बिल्कुल स्वाभाविक तौर पर जो है यहाँ पर ढोल नगाड़ों के साथ जश्न मनाया जा रहा है और बात यहाँ पर इनकी तरफ से एक की जा रही है क्योंकि अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तरफ से इसे जो है अपहोल्ड किया गया है, यानी हिदायत माना गया है। तो ये लोग अब यहाँ पर मिठाइयाँ हाथों में लिए हुए जश्न यहाँ पर मनाया जा रहा है। हाथों में तिरंगे झंडे लिए हुए मिठाइयाँ जो हैं वो ये लोग बांट रहे हैं। बैंड बाजे के साथ ये लोग यहाँ पर जश्न मना रहे हैं क्योंकि जो आरक्षण जो है गरीबों को वो अब मिलेगा। गुरसानी के साथ गुरसिमरन सिंह, रिपब्लिक मीडिया।
All right, so those are pictures that we are getting to you from Jammu, where obviously celebrations have broken out, welcoming of the verdict that has come. But do remember that Udit Raj has questioned this. In fact, he did make a comment on this. Let's listen into what he said.
मानसिकता के ऊपर सवाल कर रहा हूं, जवाब सुप्रीम कोर्ट को देना चाहिए। गॉड नहीं है, देश के लिए अकाउंटेबल है, जनता के लिए अकाउंटेबल है, 85% के लिए अकाउंटेबल है, SC ST OBC के लिए अकाउंटेबल है। ये कोई भगवान नहीं।
तो ये जातिवादी कैसे हो गए फिर?
जातिवादी तो हुए अपने आप, वो तो अंधे को भी नजर आ रहा। भाई 30 साल तक तो आप इंदिरा साहनी के जजमेंट में लगी हुई शर्त को मानते रहे, अब आप क्यों नहीं उलट, कैसे पलट गया?
तो अगर आप इस फैसले के खिलाफ हैं, आपकी पार्टी तो आपके साथ नहीं खड़ी।
अरे भाई पार्टी की बात ही कहां से कर दिया आपने? मेरा ये निजी है, मैं लड़ता रहा हमेशा समाज की, और पार्टी कहे या न कहे सामने दिख रहा है सब कुछ।
तो आप चैलेंज करने जाएंगे इस तरह?
नहीं, चैलेंज हम क्यों करेंगे? हम उन्हीं के खिलाफ चैलेंज करके क्या कर लेंगे? खोल दो।
What's your comment on EWS reservation?
I'm not opposing EWS reservation, but I definitely challenge the mindset of Supreme Court, that is a upper caste mindset, that when it came to expand the limit of 50% in the matter of SC ST OBC reservation, then always it was cited that Indira Sahani judgment has put an embargo of 50%. Today that embargo has been lifted. Now today they are citing constitution, that in the constitution there is no limit mentioned. Then why, when it came to SC ST, for 30 years they have been always citing citing Indira Sahani, not the constitution? That I am questioning, that I am asking.
Is it a matter of constitution or is it a matter of caste?
It's not that mindset of the Supreme Court judges. It's upper caste mentality.
Thank you.
Udit Raj over there repeating that insult, in fact saying that the Supreme Court has an upper caste mindset. He tweeted a while ago about this, sticking to what he said earlier. Just to take our viewers through, the political tweet that came in from Udit Raj, he said that the Supreme Court is casteist, still no doubt. When it came to EWS reservation, how was it reserved? That the 50% limit is not a constitutional obligation, but whenever it came to give reservations to SC, ST, OBC, the 50% limit in the Indira Sahani case was cited. So that's a comment that came in from the Congress party. Let me go across back on the ground to Gursimran, where this judgment, of course, of the Supreme Court is being celebrated across Jammu. Gursimran.
Yes, right now we are at the Jammu Rani Park where the Dogra Front activists are celebrating. They are celebrating the Supreme Court decision of reservation, 10% reservation, and they are also distributing the sweets. These are the colorful visuals that we are taking up from Jammu, where the activists of Dogra Front are celebrating a landmark decision that has been taken by the Supreme Court by 3-2. They has passed and will try to speak to them. सर लगातार जश्न मनाए जा रहे हैं, क्या कारण
जो 10% आरक्षण गरीबों को विषय के अंदर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के माध्यम से आया और मोदी जी की सरकार ने वैसा प्ली वहां लिया और गुजरात के अंदर ये पहले लागू हो चुका है। वही बात के 10% आरक्षण अब गरीबों को भी मिलेगा, 50 से अब 60 हो जाएगा और 60 के विषय के अंदर अब ये गरीबों को मिलेगा। अब इस पर कोई राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। 5 जज थे, 3 का फैसला हमारे समर्थन के अंदर आया और इसको लागू कर दिया जाएगा। इसका हम स्वागत कर रहे हैं, लड्डू बांट रहे हैं, ढोल नगाड़े बजा रहे हैं कि उस सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस का बड़ा बड़ा धन्यवाद जिन्होंने गरीबों के विषय के अंदर विचार करा।
सर, जो लोग राजनीति इस पे कर रहे थे, क्या कहना चाहते?
अब राजनीति, इस समय की राजनीति बड़ी भयंकर है। क्या गरीबों के विषय के अंदर 50% के अंदर गरीब कहाँ थे? वो जो बिल्कुल नीचे बैठा हुआ व्यक्ति, अब उसके विषय के अंदर कोई विचार नहीं करेगा। आज विचार हो गया, इसलिए उसका स्वागत है।
So the celebrations here by distributing the sweets and also by bursting the crackers, the dhol, it's almost like a festive season here, wherein they are celebrating the decision, the landmark decision that has been taken by the Supreme Court. Yes.
All right, so as Gursimran, of course, was taking us through what's happening in Jammu over there, celebrations breaking out now. This, of course, is a judgment that was highly awaited. What we've seen today, of course, is the Supreme Court essentially by a majority view of 3-1 upholding the validity of the 103rd constitutional amendment, providing 10% reservation to people belonging to economically weaker sections in admissions and government jobs. Now, the top court said that the law on EWS quota does not violate the basic structure of the constitution. The 3 judges who have actually upheld this have said that equality that is enshrined in the constitution is something that is furthered by this. So they saw this as affirmative action being taken by Parliament. So in that sense, they have upheld this. Now, at the outset, of course, the Chief Justice U.U. Lalita said that there are 4 different judgments on the pleas. Just to tell our viewers that Chief Justice U.U. Lalit actually did not consent with this. He was one of the dissenting judges. There were 2 justices who were dissenting. Let's go back across on the ground to Gursimran.
एक ही मांग इनकी तरफ से बात कही जा रही है, एक निर्णायक निर्णय जो है वो यहाँ पर लिया जा रहा है।
सेक्शन के लोग थे, वो ये डिमांड कर रहे थे कि मतलब ये रिजर्वेशन उनको मिले ताकि वो भी आगे बढ़ सके।
ये पहले आरक्षण गुजरात के अंदर लागू हो गया था, लेकिन इस पर विरोधाभास पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों के मनाने के बाद इस फैसले को सुप्रीम कोर्ट के माध्यम से लागू करने का प्रयास किया गया। ये कोर्ट के अंदर दे दिया गया, सरकार ने अपना पक्ष रखा, 10% आरक्षण मिलना चाहिए। आज उस 10% आरक्षण पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस ने मोहर लगा दी।
गरीबों की जिंदगी कितनी बदलेगी इससे? आपको
10% लोग जो हैं अब गरीब गुरबा, जिनका कोई सहारा नहीं है, वो गरीब लोग जो हैं अब वो आरक्षण के माध्यम से आगे पढ़ने का प्रयास कर पाएंगे और नौकरी के अंदर सब कुछ हासिल करने का प्रयास। ये बहुत बड़ा आज ये जो लड्डू सेलिब्रेशन इस बात का है कि कोई तो गरीबों के विषय के अंदर सोचने वाला प्रयास हुआ और ये प्रयास अच्छा कदम माननीय मोदी जी ने गुजरात के अंदर उठाया और अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट की मोहर लग गई, अब इसको कोई उखाड़ने का प्रयास नहीं कर पाएगा।
तो लगातार यहाँ पे जश्न जो है वो मनाया जा रहा है। आप देखेंगे हाथों में तिरंगे झंडे लिए और जश्न जो है वो यहाँ पर ये लोग मना रहे हैं। जश्न इस बात का है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तरफ से उस फैसले के पक्ष में कहा गया है, वो फैसला जो कि गरीबों को जो है आज के दौर में सुदृढ़ करने की कोशिश है। और लगातार ये प्रयास जो है सरकार की तरफ से किया जा रहा था कि वो लोग जो समाज के पिछड़े वर्ग से आते हैं, जो आर्थिक रूप पर पिछड़े हुए हैं, उन्हें जो है सक्षम बनाया जाए कि वो आज के इस दौर में भी आगे निकल सके। और अब
I don't know if Gursimran really can hear me, but thank you for that, Gursimran. Gaurav Bhatia on the phone line with me. Mr. Bhatia, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Republic TV. Mr. Bhatia, this of course is a landmark judgment. What do you make of it to begin with? And also, you know, we'd like you to comment on what the Congress party has said, but that's later. First, your reaction.
This is a historic judgment and it takes forward the vision the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has for members of the economically weaker section. The Honorable Supreme Court also held the constitutional amendment to be within the parameters of the constitution of our country, and it will empower those who are economically weaker and they need support from the state. And it was never introduced earlier. Very decisive decision was taken by Shri Narendra Modi ji, which has been upheld today.
Right. Also, Mr. Bhatia, you know, the three judges who have actually gone for this have stated that they feel that this is their interpretation of equality that is enshrined in the Constitution. How do you see that part of it? Extremely, you know, interesting observations that were made by the judges.
There have been a number of observations made by the judges who are in favor of the constitutional amendment, whereas there are two judges who have also held that this is not within the parameters of the constitution. But at the same time, any comments that have to be made should be made after we have thoroughly gone through the judgment. But the initial observations that have been read out in the court and stated there clearly make it clear that government is well within its constitutional powers to introduce such a legislation, and the parliament passed it, and thus it is pro-poor and it is the spirit of the constitution which has been upheld.
Right, Mr. Bhatia, very, very quickly, Udit Raj of the Congress party, in fact, has tweeted, has spoken as well. Now, he says that the Supreme Court has an upper caste mindset. Do you think that this is a slur against the Supreme Court of India, where such an important judgment was coming out today? How do you read this?
The Honorable Supreme Court has dutifully, under the Constitution, done its job. And I think such irresponsible remarks coming from Congress leaders clearly reflect the scant respect that they have for the highest court of the country. And second, when the Honorable Supreme Court decides a legal issue, they do not keep in mind any biases towards any caste or any members of the society. This is a question purely of law, which has been decided by the Honorable Supreme Court, and the verdict needs to be respected.
Mr. Bhatia, also one of the judges essentially did mention the fact that he feels that reservations should be subject to review and that they cannot go on forever. Before we let you go, your final thoughts on that?
No, as I said that we need to examine the nature of those comments and statements made by the judge of the Honorable Supreme Court, and in what context it has been said. To make a comment on it without reading the entire judgment would not be proper.
All right, Mr. Bhatia, appreciate your speaking to us on Republic TV. So that was Gaurav Bhatia of the BJP, giving his views, also essentially saying that Mr. Udit Raj from the Congress party needs to measure his words before he makes these comments on the Supreme Court's verdict. Just to remind our viewers that this has been a historic verdict that has come in. It's being seen as a pro-poor verdict from the Supreme Court upholding the 10% reservation for economically weaker sections that essentially was given by the Modi government. Three judges, of course, have upheld it and said that this is not something that goes against the 103rd constitutional amendment. This does not go against the Constitution. Two judges were dissenting. they, of course, did include the Supreme Court's Chief Justice of India, Dr. UU Lalit. So, pictures on your screen are coming to you from Jammu, where celebrations have broken out. This is something that's being welcomed across various states. Obviously, we will perhaps be also looking at some sort of reactions to come in from various states, but pictures on your screen from Jammu, I think, where this is being celebrated right now. All right, let's also listen into various reactions that we have been getting to this judgment. We begin with a reaction that we got from Ashwini Upadhyay.
था उसको माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जायज माना है। जो 10% रिजर्वेशन के खिलाफ बहुत सारी याचिकाएं आई थी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में और अलग अलग देश के हाई कोर्ट में पड़ी थी, उन सबको खारिज कर दिया है। माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का कहना है कि ये जो ईडब्ल्यूएस कैटेगरी है, ये कहीं से भी जो कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन है उसको कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं करता, ये किसी भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का वायलेशन नहीं करता, आर्टिकल 14 का वायलेशन नहीं करता। इसलिए जो गरीब, आर्थिक रूप से जो गरीब हैं, उनको ये 10% का जो रिजर्वेशन है, ये प्रावधान यथावत रहेगा, ये चलता रहेगा, इसमें कोई रोक नहीं आई है। माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 10% रिजर्वेशन के खिलाफ जितनी याचिकाएं थी सबको खारिज कर दिया है। स्वागत करता हूं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 3-4 बातें बहुत स्पष्ट कर दिया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यह कह दिया कि केवल कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन नहीं होना चाहिए, बल्कि आर्थिक आधार पे भी आरक्षण दिया जा सकता है। दूसरा ये भी कह दिया कि जो 50% की सीलिंग है उसको बढ़ाई जा सकती है, और ये भी कह दिया कि ये जो 10% रिजर्वेशन है गरीबों के लिए, ये कास्ट बेस्ड नहीं है, इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया है। जो 50% की सीलिंग है वो कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन के लिए है, इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया के लिए नहीं है। जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जस्टिस बेला त्रिवेदी का जो ऑब्जर्वेशन है, उन्होंने कहा इस रिजर्वेशन सिस्टम को रिव्यू करने की जरूरत है। 75 साल हो गए, आखिर रिजर्वेशन कब तक चलेगा और कैसे कैसे चलेगा। मेरा भी ये मानना है कि बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग पिछले 3 जनरेशन से रिजर्वेशन ले रहे हैं। मतलब उनके दादा भी रिजर्वेशन के सहारे कलेक्टर बन गए, बेटा भी रिजर्वेशन के सहारे कलेक्टर बन गया, और नाती और पोते भी कलेक्टर रिजर्वेशन के सहारे डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, प्रोफेसर बन रहे हैं। इसको रिव्यू करने की जरूरत। भाई जो व्यक्ति एक बार सांसद बन गया, विधायक बन गया, कलेक्टर बन गया, तहसीलदार बन गया, थानेदार बन गया, मंत्री बन गया, गवर्नर बन गया, या वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बन गया, उसके बच्चों को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? अब रामविलास पासवान जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? रामनाथ कोविंद जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? उदित राज जी के परिवार को रिजर्वेशन क्यों मिलना चाहिए? जिसके घर में एक बार रिजर्वेशन हो गया उसको दोबारा नहीं मिलना चाहिए। इसलिए इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया मुझे लगता है SC, ST, OBC सब में फॉलो करना चाहिए। एक रिजर्वेशन का एक क्राइटेरिया हो, 6 लाख हो पर एनम या 8 लाख पर एनम हो, लेकिन जो है वो सबके लिए होना चाहिए। तभी वास्तव में नीडी लोगों को इसका फायदा मिलेगा। नहीं तो जो अमीर है वही बार बार लेता रहेगा, जो गरीब है उसको रिजर्वेशन नहीं मिलेगा।
जिस तरीके से आज जो जजमेंट आया है, जो 103 अमेंडमेंट था उसको चैलेंज किया गया था, क्योंकि 103 अमेंडमेंट में ये एक्सक्लूड कर दिया था OBC, SC, ST को। तो ये वायलेट कर रहा था आर्टिकल 14 को, राइट टू इक्वलिटी को। इस इशू को लेके याचिका फाइल हुई थी कि आप आर्थिक आधार पर आरक्षण दीजिए, मगर जिस तरीके से एक्सक्लूजन हुआ है ये गलत हुआ है। जिसको माइनॉरिटी जो व्यू आया है चीफ जस्टिस और जस्टिस रविंद्र भट्ट का, उन्होंने इस चीज को माना है।
अब आप लोग इस फैसले को कैसे देखते हैं?
ये फैसला एक नए युग की शुरुआत कह सकते हैं कि जिस तरीके से ये 91 में इस तरीके का रिजर्वेशन दिया गया था, मगर 91 में जब ये इंदिरा साहनी का जजमेंट आया तो ये माना 9 जजेस ने कि जिस तरीके से आर्थिक आधार अगर आप रिजर्वेशन का लेते हैं तो ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल फ्रॉड है। उस इशू को उसके बाद में कभी फिर इसके बाद गुजरात में एक बार जरूर दिया गया था 10% रिजर्वेशन थ्रू नोटिफिकेशन, मगर वो भी हाईकोर्ट ने स्टेक डाउन कर दिया था। उसके बाद में SLP यहाँ पेंडिंग थी। इलेक्शन के पहले आनंद फानन में 10% आर्थिक आधार पर आरक्षण दिया गया, जिसको आज यहाँ पे मेजोरिटी व्यू है जस्टिस महेश्वरी के साथ में जस्टिस बेला त्रिवेदी एंड जस्टिस पारदीवाला, इनके व्यू ने अपहेल्ड किया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट को।
क्या आप कोई रिव्यू वगैरह का भी
हमारे क्लाइंट का अभी कहना है, अब लीगल एडवाइस लेंगे। बाकी जो हमारा जो व्यू था, जिस बेसिस पे हम लोगों ने पिटीशन फाइल की थी, वो माइनॉरिटी जजमेंट में बिल्कुल झलक रहा है, और इसमें अच्छी संभावना बनती है कि इसमें रिव्यू फाइल की जाए।
All right, so those are reactions we are getting. Let's cut across also to Harsha, I think, who's joined by Mr. Udit Raj, who has made certain comments about this judgment. Harsha, you have him with you. He, of course, has made very stringent remarks against this, calling the Supreme Court casteist.
किस बात का?
Exactly, Nupur. I'll directly go to Dr. Udit Raj, who is Congress leader. Udit Raj, your comment and your tweet in Twitter is, you don't think it's very controversial and stringent where you say that Supreme Court is casteist, and when you know that EWS amendment has been given approval with 3-2 majority in Supreme Court today.
See, what happened that I'm not against the EWS reservation. What I'm saying is that the mindset of the Supreme Court, that is upper caste mindset. And for 30 years, whenever SC/ST OBC matters came to the Supreme Court, always Indira Sahni judgment was cited that it had imposed the limit of 50%. And today that limit has been broken. Why has it been broken? And what has been the position of Supreme Court for 30 years when it came to SC/ST OBC, and today there is a certain U-turn. That mindset I am challenging, that definitely Supreme Court represents the upper caste mindset. I am not against the reservation given to economically weaker section of general category. I reiterate again it. But the position is factual position. And today they are citing a constitution that it doesn't embargo, it doesn't put the by embargo of 50%. And then for 30 years, where was the Supreme Court? Constitution. Was it in dustbin? Constitution. Then always the judgment was cited. Today the Constitution is cited. These are the contradictions which are very apparent, and that is what I have raised my concern.
But now you are reiterating your statement while on the tweet you mentioned it, sir, कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की सोच जातिवादी है. But why, sir? क्यों जातिवादी है, सर? क्यों आपको लगता है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस अपर कास्ट प्रभावित हैं?
इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ आपको कि इंदिरा साहनी का जो जजमेंट 16 दिसंबर 1992 में आया, और जिसमें कहा कि रिजर्वेशन किसी भी स्थिति में 50% से ज़्यादा नहीं हो सकता, और 30 साल से जितने SC/ST OBC के मैटर आए हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, इंदिरा साहनी जजमेंट को आधार बना करके रिजेक्ट किया जाता रहा. आज इंदिरा साहनी के जजमेंट का आधार नहीं रहा, आज संविधान का आधार हो गया. तो जब SC/ST का मैटर आए तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का स्टैंड अलग, और जब सवर्णों का मैटर आए तो अलग. मैं विरोध नहीं कर रहा हूँ, EWS को रिजर्वेशन मिला, मैं उसका विरोध नहीं कर रहा, लेकिन ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजेज की मानसिकता है उसका ऊपर एक हमारा नजरिया है. नजरिया को कोई काटने को तैयार हो तो बता दे. 30 साल से एक बात ब्लैंकेट हुआ करता था कि 50% लिमिट क्रॉस नहीं हो सकती आरक्षण से. आज कैसे क्रॉस हो गई?
उदित राज साहब, बस मैं एक सवाल पूछना चाहूंगी सर, क्या आप अपने ट्वीट के लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आपने जो टिप्पणी की, क्या उस पर आप माफी मांगेंगे सर? सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, संविधान से सर माफी मांगेंगे?
क्यों फैक्चुअल है? गलती क्या है कि मैं माफी मांगूं? क्यों मांगूं? जब 30 साल से लगातार इंदिरा साहनी का जजमेंट आधार था, आज वो कहाँ गया आधार? किस बात, कौन सी गलती हमने किया? हमने कोई गलती नहीं की.
सर, लेकिन जस्टिस निष्पक्ष तौर पे आज जजमेंट दिया. यूयू ललित ने भी रविंदर भट्ट के साथ सहमति जताई. 3 जज थे जो कह रहे थे बहुत समय पुराना हो गया, वो धड़ा पुराना है, तो रिवाइज करने की जरूरत है हमें पुराने चीजों को.
नहीं, आप ये बताइए, मेरे सवाल का जवाब, सवाल के हिसाब से आप, मेरे जवाब के हिसाब से सवाल आप पूछ ही नहीं रहे. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि 30 साल कुछ और रहा, आज ऐसे कैसे बदल गया?
सर, बेला त्रिवेदी ने यही तो कहा ना कि 75 साल हमारी आज़ादी को हो चुके हैं. जो कास्ट सिस्टम हमारे देश में था उसकी वजह से ही आरक्षण देना पड़ा था. आज समय है कि बैकवर्ड, कई लोग हैं बैकवर्ड क्लास में जो बेहतर हो गए हैं. बेला त्रिवेदी ने एक बात कही थी सर, इक्वल्स कैन नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज अनइक्वल्स. तो अगर कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं अपर कास्ट में जो कि पुअर हैं, पुअर सेक्शन में आते हैं, तो उन्हें अपलिफ्ट करना जिम्मेदारी है हमारी.
भाई वो अलग बात है, अलग बात है. मैं कहाँ आरक्षण के खिलाफ हूँ? आप क्यों मुझे मिसगाइड कर रहे हैं? मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि 50% की सीमा आज कैसे टूट गई? पहले तो कहा हो ही नहीं सकती, ये लक्ष्मण रेखा है. मैं मानसिकता के ऊपर कर रहा हूं. मैं आरक्षण दिया गया, मैं कहा उसका विरोध कर रहा हूं.
लेकिन वो कहा है कि जो वॉयलेट नहीं किए जाएंगे, जो 50% रिजर्वेशन की कैपिंग है, वॉयलेट नहीं होगी सर.
कैसे नहीं? वायलेट तो हो गई. अब 60% हो गया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा हो गया.
लेकिन उन 50% को कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा, उन पर कोई असर नहीं पड़ेगा. उदित सर,
बात यह नहीं है. बात यह है कि 50% की सीमा क्रॉस हो ही नहीं सकती किसी भी परिस्थिति में। बात तो है, बात आरक्षण दिया गया कि नहीं दिया, इनको नुकसान हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, फायदा हुआ, सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता।
आपको लगता है उदित सर कि वो जातिवाद वाला कमेंट नहीं करना चाहिए था?
वो करना चाहिए, वो है उचित, वही सवाल वही सही है और कोई सवाल इसमें सही नहीं। सबसे ज्यादा रेलेवेंट वही क्वेश्चन है।
आपको लगता है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जातिवाद से बहुत ज्यादा मोटिवेटेड, आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं?
यस।
लेकिन ये पूरा तरह से क्वेश्चन उठा रहा है सर संविधान पर आपका स्टेटमेंट।
अरे संविधान का नहीं है वो, न सुप्रीम कोर्ट का भी नहीं है, जजेज के ऊपर है, न संविधान के ऊपर, न पार्लियामेंट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर नहीं है, जजेज मानसिकता की बात कर रहा हूँ।
लेकिन तो आप ये कहना चाहते हैं कि बेला त्रिवेदी और दिनेश माहेश्वरी जिन्होंने फेवर में दिया अमेंडमेंट के, वो जातिवाद मोटिवेटेड, आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं? क्योंकि 2 जजेस ऐसे भी थे जिन्होंने कहा हम अपहेल्ड नहीं करते हैं, उन्होंने ये भी तो कहा, 2 ऐसे भी तो जज हैं।
अरे भाई ऐसा है कि ओवरऑल देखा जाता है, इस बेंच की बात कर रहा हूँ, मेजॉरिटी ने ये कहा कि 50% की सीमा क्रॉस की जा सकती है, संविधान में ऐसा कोई बाध्यता नहीं है। तो पहले बाध्यता थी क्या?
इंदिरा स्वानी जजमेंट सर 1992 का जजमेंट है, समय बदला है, परिवेश बदला है, ओबीसी एससी बीसी बेहतर पोजीशन में अब हुए हैं सोसाइटी में।
30 साल तक वही पोजीशन रही, आज सडनली 1 मिनट में चेंज हो गया, कैसे हो सकता? 16 दिसंबर 92 से SC ST OBC के मामले में परिस्थिति नहीं चेंज हुई क्या? इन्हीं की परिस्थिति चेंज हुई है।
तो परिस्थिति चेंज हुई है, एजुकेशन उनको मिला है, उन्होंने वो जो गैप है उसको मिनिमलाइज किया है, बेहतर हुए हैं बैकवर्ड अब बहुत सारे।
कौन सा बेहतर हुए भाई? आज भी ब्यूरोक्रेसी में देख लीजिए,
कई सारे हैं सर जो बैकवर्ड क्लास है।
आप सुन तो लीजिए, 15% को अभी भी 70% 75% है हायर इकलॉन में। तो समय के हिसाब से उनको बराबर करना चाहिए आबादी के हिसाब से। आप उल्टा ही बोल रही हैं, सवाल ही उल्टा हो रहा है।
लेकिन एक बेंच के डिसीजन को 3-2 की मेजॉरिटी को आपने पूरे सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर क्वेश्चन खड़ा कर दिया।
आपको एक सवाल कर रहा हूँ कि परिस्थिति 30 साल में बदलनी चाहिए, 30 साल में परिस्थिति SC ST OBC की इम्प्रूव करना चाहिए। आज भी 70% से ज्यादा क्लास 1 ऑफिसर्स रोड हैं, 15%। वो ध्यान देना चाहिए कि ध्यान देना चाहिए? फिर भी मैं EWS का रिजर्वेशन का विरोध नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मानसिकता का विरोध कर रहा हूँ। इनके ऊपर ख्याल नहीं आता। ज़्यादातर हम लोग मुकदमा लड़ते हैं, सीनियरिटी का है, कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल बेनिफिट का है, बैकलॉग का है, प्रमोशन का है, रिजेक्ट होते मैटर।
एक EWS पर जो डिसीजन आया उसको आपने क्वेश्चन किया, आपने पूरे संविधान को जाति, आपने जजेस की मानसिकता पर किया। जब डिसीजन आता है, जब सारे जजेस की पीठ बैठती है सर, तब तमाम चीजों को देख करके वो फैसला सुनाया जाता है। जब आपने मानसिकता पर क्वेश्चन किया, आपको नहीं लगता आपने कंट्रोवर्सी को स्पार्क किया है कास्टिस्ट कमेंट करके?
फैक्ट्स बोला जाए, सत्य बोलने भी गुनाह है। सत्य बोलना कोई कंट्रोवर्सी है? सत्य है।
ऐसा क्यों आपको लगता है कि उनकी मानसिकता अपर कास्ट है? ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि
30 साल से SC ST OBC का रिजर्वेशन का जब मामला आया तो लक्ष्मण रेखा रही है इंदिरा साहनी का जजमेंट, 50% से ज्यादा नहीं हो सकती। आज लक्ष्मण रेखा टूट गई
क्योंकि समय बदला है, चीजें देखी गई कि अपर कास्ट में कई लोग तो गरीब हैं अभी भी।
समय बदला है तो SC ST OBC का जा रिप्रेजेंटेशन बढ़ाना चाहिए था। अभी भी 70% से ज़्यादा भारत सरकार में जितने लगभग 100 के पास सेक्रेटरीज हैं गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के, 2-4 SC ST OBC के हैं, बाकी वही तो हैं। कौन सा समय बदला है?
तो सर एक डेटा आया था जिसमें ये भी बताया गया था कि ब्यूरोक्रेसी में, पॉलिटिक्स में, एजुकेशनल संस्थानों में, शैक्षणिक जगहों पे जो SC, ST, SEBC, OBC की जो क्षमता है वो बढ़ी है, उन लोगों का इन्वॉल्वमेंट बढ़ा है, उन लोगों को जगह भी दी गई है कई जगहों पर। आज पॉलिटिक्स में भले आप देख लीजिए, चाहे शैक्षणिक संस्थानों में देख लीजिए, तो आपको क्यों लगता है कि आज जब बात आर्थिक रूप से गरीबों की बात आ रही है तो इसमें तब जातिवाद कहा जा रहा है, तब जातिवाद मानसिकता बताई जा रही है जजेस की?
देखिए, जो संविधान में कल्पना की गई थी कि सबका बराबर रिप्रेजेंटेशन होना चाहिए, लगभग 100 सेक्रेटरीज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में है, 2-4 भी नहीं होंगे। पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग 250 है, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर शायद 1-2 भी नहीं होगा। और PMO में है या तो मिनिस्टर्स के PS APS में या जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी है। आप यहाँ आपको नज़र नहीं जाती है कौन सा लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड हुआ है, कौन सा इम्प्रूवमेंट बहुत हो गया। जो संविधान निर्माताओं ने सपना देखा था या जो दर्शन जो सोचा था, उल्टा खत्म हो गया, आरक्षण उल्टा खत्म कर दिया मोदी जी ने आके।
Dramatic scenes unfold outside the Thiruvananthapuram Corporation after a letter had leaked which said the youngest mayor of the country, Arya Rajendran, had sent a letter to the district CPM secretary stating that there are 295 temporary vacancies that are available and that can be filled by the party leadership. This has caused a huge turmoil in Thiruvananthapuram itself, and as you can see, the Youth Congress has taken out a protest. Police had used about 6 rounds of tear gas over here. You can see these canisters lying right here. The protest has been going on for some time, and these are the canisters that has been thrown. About 6 rounds of tear gas canisters has been thrown at this venue. They are demanding the sacking of Arya Rajendran as she has violated the oath. Arya Rajendran is one of the most, when her taking as a mayor of Thiruvananthapuram was celebrated on a big massive level by the ruling left government, because at that time she was only 21 years old. Now this letter has clearly put her in a dock as allegations of nepotism has come. 295 temporary vacancies which were available in the corporation. She had written a letter to the CPM district leadership asking to send cadres to that. Now the police is intensifying this protest. There were first round of water cannons that has been used, after which about 6 rounds of tear gas has been thrown over here. Now police is slowly arranging more backup. The protest has not yet come down. They are still here. It looks like police may use force in a time from now, but these are dramatic scenes that are unfolding outside the Thiruvananthapuram Corporation office in Thiruvananthapuram, demanding that Arya Rajendran, who is the mayor of Thiruvananthapuram, should be sacked immediately as she has violated her oath. Now 295 vacancies were there in that particular letter, and in that letter there includes some of the key positions. These are all temporary positions. However, the letter is quite problematic for the reason that these vacancies, where the details of these vacancies were sent to the CPM local leadership and asking them to have their cadres to be part of them, so that this is offering them a job. Now, ironically, after this letter came out, the same mayor, Arya Rajendran, had taken part in a rally in Delhi, asking Prime Minister Narendra Modi, stating there is unemployment in the country. Now, that has also completely been touted by the opposition today. The BJP, the Congress and this youth wing have all been demanding the stepping down of the mayor. But Arya Rajendran is stating that that letter is fake. She has never written a letter like that. So has the CPM district leadership, stating that they also have not received any kind of such letter. But the sources indicate that the letter has been sent, and that the allegation is by them is not fake, and that the letter that has been sent is real, and that the governor, the mayor, is answerable to the allegations, and that she should step down immediately from her duty. So these are dramatic scenes which are unfolding outside Thiruvananthapuram. Back to you.
Ashwin, as you're pointing out about this particular story, talk to us about what exactly is stated in that letter. Of course, one of the allegations is that they've paved way for nepotism, but if you could talk to us more about what is stated in that letter.
Yes, In that letter, basically, the letter states that there are 295 temporary vacancies that are available in the Thiruvananthapuram Corporation. Now, she's the mayor of the Thiruvananthapuram Corporation. Now, the letter also says that, also describes the breakdown of all the employment opportunities that are available. And then, in the letter, she has written to the CPM District Secretary, Anavur Nagapan, and asking him that to fill up all these vacancies. And that letter is the cause of problem. Now, a mayor of a town writing a letter to the party leadership, that too a district party leadership, asking her cadres to fill the temporary posts, obviously will lead to protest. So that is the reason why this protest has been ongoing over here, and it has intensified today. Early today, the Yuva Morcha has also taken a protest. Like inside the corporation, a lot of these, about 35 BJP councillors are also there. They're also taking part in the protest inside the corporation. Outside, the Yuva Morcha is, the Youth Congress is also taking the protest. So there has been tear gas that has been used, water cannons has been used, and the police is